What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 8LF Chapter 111 The Secret of the World, Collision with Xia Luo's Conquerors. What Katakuri didn't know was why the two of them were arguing like this over a caramel puff. There was obviously one here, so if you wanted to eat it, just share it equally. If Xia Luo knew what he was going for, he would definitely sneer at him. Just like eating potato chips, the first and last potato chips are always the best. There is a world of difference between eating the last slice of the first pack and the first slice of a new pack. After Xia Luo and Charlotte Linlin finished yelling at Conqueror, their foreheads bumped together again, and they both looked displeased with each other. As the momentum of the two of them grew higher and higher, the ant couldn't help but move her hand first and directly hit Xia Luo with her fist. And Xia Luo didn't show any weakness. She clenched her palms into fists and struck back. Bang bang bang. Neither of them used armor or Conqueror's Haki, just the sound of flesh colliding. Auntie and Xia Luo's bodies did not retreat at all. They were evenly matched, constantly attacking or defending each other's fists with their fists. But the shock and wind affected the caramel puffs they grabbed together. Ah! Is it going to start again? The guests and the children of the Charlotte family were frightened again, with a faint intention of retreating. Calm down, it'll be okay. Katakuri's calm voice came, instantly calming everyone's minds. Yes, Katakuri Ni is still here. He must have predicted what will happen in the future. The children of the Charlotte family looked at Katakuri with reassurance and admiration. And he didn't take any action because of the fighting between the two, he just watched quietly. Everything is developing as he predicted in the future. Finally, Xia Luo and Auntie hit each other simultaneously in one attack, and the caramel puff was shattered into two pieces. The two of them grabbed the half-remaining caramel puff and flew it backwards. Boom. Almost at the same time they crashed onto the table next to them. You nasty little brat. The ant struggled to get up, holding half a caramel puff in her hand and cursing. When she saw Xia Luo's movements on the other side clearly, she was stunned for a moment. I saw Xia Luo stuffing the other half of the caramel puff into her mouth like a wolf. Ah, cunning little devil. The ant was stunned for a moment, and then said involuntarily. Then, just like Xia Luo, he stuffed the remaining half of the caramel puff into his mouth. After eating, the two people lay on their backs on the ground at the same time, exhaling in unison, forming a white mushroom shape in the air. He patted his belly with both hands in great satisfaction. I'm full, the two of them sighed at the same time again, just like mirrors. Huh, that's great, it didn't turn into a war. Passerby wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and breathed a sigh of relief. Others agreed. Well, you little brat is very much to my liking, how about it? Do you want to truly join my 10,000 kingdoms? No matter how many there are, as long as you have a daughter you like, I will let them marry you. Charlotte Linlin slowly sat up, with a smile on her face, but said with a very serious expression. She once again invited Xia Luo in front of everyone at the venue. Lying on the ground, Xia Luo opened one eye and glanced down at her, then turned over and sat up. Ha 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 ha, big. Mom, you should know, Mr. Shiki's ambition, as his successor, if you know that I joined your army because of a few women, I'm afraid you will crawl out of the cemetery in anger and kill me pull it down. Xia Luo also grinned and refused without hesitation. The atmosphere on the field suddenly condensed again, and the weird atmosphere continued to spread. The children of the Charlotte family also looked at the two people in the field nervously, but they were relieved when they saw that Katakuri didn't move at all. It seems like there won't really be a fight. Ha 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 ha. The ant who had been silent for a long time broke the strange atmosphere. She suddenly looked up to the sky and smiled, patting her thighs with both hands. What's wrong with Mom? Isn't it because Sirika has relapsed? Seeing the ant suddenly laughing like crazy, the son of the Charlotte family said. The woman began to worry again, and only Aunt knows why she laughs. Just now, she saw a shadow in Xia Luo's smile. It's very familiar, and it feels like I haven't seen it for a long time. The shadow kept overlapping with Xia Luo's figure until she saw what Golden Lion looked like back then. She was relieved at the same time. There was absolutely no way he could recruit this brat into his employ. Will a lion abandon his dignity and disguise himself as a wolf because of the recruitment of wolves? Kid, you are very ambitious. Do you also want to overthrow the world government like Haki and then dominate the entire world? Do you have the ability to challenge her? The ant showed a ferocious smile, her momentum continued to spurt out, and she asked loudly. At least it's better than you, an old woman who lives in the status quo. I'm still young and can continue to get stronger. Who knows what will happen in the future? In response to the ant's question, Xia Luo said in a calm tone with no expression on her face. The children of the Charlotte family were all confused and could not understand what the ant and Xia Luo were talking about. Even Katakuri frowned. He could see the pictures of the future and hear the sounds of the future. But he didn't know what Xia Luo said to Auntie, and he didn't hear any information about her in the future. However, Xia Luo's disrespectful tone caused dissatisfaction among the children of the Charlotte family. Hey, Xia Luo, although you are very strong, you are a little too disrespectful to your mother. The fourth male, Charlotte Owen, had an angry look on her face and said displeased ly to her lower body. Auntie can be said to be the face of their Charlotte family. Being treated disrespectfully by Xia Luo, as Auntie's children, of course they have to stand up and defend her. However, both Auntie and Xia Luo ignored him, which made him even more angry, but he could only hold back and not take action. Custard looked at Xia Luo with worried eyes, and the brief contact made her heart hang on Xia Luo. Even Xia Luo didn't expect Custard's love brain to be so easy to guide. He started to have such a high favorable impression of him after just a brief contact with him. Very good, it seems that you have already been in contact with her. Xia Luo's words did not make the ant feel angry, but instead made her laugh out loud. There are not many people in this world who can contact or know her, but figures like Auntie who stand at the top of the world know it more or less. World government also has a master who controls the entire world. I heard, there is an O'Hara survivor on your ship who can read the text of history, right? You don't want to collect the historical text and then go to the last island, Raftel, to become the new pirate king? The ferocious smile on the ant's face did not change, and she stared at Xia Luo, as if she was looking forward to what kind of answer he would give. One Piece? Not interested, but I will still go to Raftel, because there is something I am curious about there, and I will find the answer myself. Facing the oppressive ant, Xia Luo remained unmoved. Ha ha ha, it's really strange. You are already a pirate, but you are not interested in becoming the pirate king. The ant laughed out loud, but then changed her attitude and returned to her previous appearance, saying, however, since you plan to go to Raftel, you also want to become enemies with us, right? Of Raftel's 4 pieces of red historical text, Big Mom and Kaido each hold 1 piece, and the remaining 2 pieces of information are in the hands of Whitebeard and Red Hair. If Xia Luo really wants to go to Raftel, she must get the information about the red historical text from these 4 people. This also means that he will be enemies with the 4 emperors. This guy Xia Luo is the successor of Golden Lion. Shiki must have told him a lot of things, including the historical text road signs that lead people to the final island, Raftel. Well, that's true. If you want to get the information about these historical texts, this is the only way. After all, it's impossible for you to give it up, so I can only defeat you first, and then take it myself. Xia Luo's eyes were bright and clear, showing no timidity, only endless excitement. He felt extremely excited to compete with the overlords of this era. Big news. Big news. Morgans was so excited that his feathers almost fell off. The camera phone in his hand kept pressing the button to record this historic scene. He is very excited now. He was originally just attending the tea party at the invitation of his aunt. Unexpectedly, I met the ant who had narcosis and destroyed the capital, and then Xia Luo took up the challenge. Big news like Charlotte Linlin. Not long ago, Xia Luo broke such big news in front of her again. Fighting alone, 4 emperors. Xia Luo officially declared war on the emperors of the sea. How could this make him not excited? Asterisk 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 asterisk. There have been countless frogs in the well who have declared war on the 4 emperors in this sea, but without exception, they have all been buried in the long river of history. The 4 emperors use their absolute strength to tell everyone why they are called the overlords in this new world. But there are still countless people who want to challenge the 4 emperors in order to become famous. Crocodile was one of them. He successfully survived and became famous all over the world. But he also lost his ambition and wanted to rely on external forces to ascend to the throne of the Pirate King. Even the instinct to fight was constantly disappearing. Another one, Gecko Moria, who fought against Kaido of the current 4 emperors, lost his ambition and wasted after that defeat. They are all people who survived the hands of the current 4 emperors and have become world-famous great pirates. But Xia Luo is different from them. Xia Luo has the ability to match Marine Admiral Huang. Ape competed and did not fall behind, even killing 5 elite vice admirals in front of Marine Admiral. He also proved his strength when he stopped Big Mom's narcosis, which is why Morgans was excited. Xia Luo, the 5th emperor, whom he had broadcast, had sex with the real 4 emperors, not one, but all of them. It's so interesting. If Xia Luo really defeats these 4 people, the kind of characters from back then will appear again in this era. Is the world about to welcome the birth of a king again? Ha 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 ha, it's so interesting. Morgans kept talking and uttering excited words, and the camera in his hand kept taking pictures. Point 0. Stussy next to her looked a little uncomfortable, her brows furrowed. Don't you feel excited when you think that tomorrow there will be big news that can shock the whole world? The whole sea will be overturned by his words, and the sea will boil again. It would be more interesting this way, wouldn't it? After taking photos of Xia Luo and the 2, Morgans took a photo of Stussy with a camera phone. He took a photo of the other person's frown. Haha, you really love to joke. Linlin is my good friend. Now she has a strong enemy. How can I be happy? Stussy's expression instantly returned to its previous calm look. She put the back of her hand on her mouth and chuckled. Every move reveals the elegance of a mature woman, which is the temperament that uniquely belongs to the Queen of Oral Street. Hey, is that so? The implication is that with the strength of Stussy's men, they can be considered a good force. Except for those big pirates, no one can take their ideas. Stussy glanced at Morgans out of the corner of her eye, wondering if her identity had been exposed. Xia Luo showed no signs of weakness and also unleashed the powerful Conqueror's Haki to compete. For a moment, the venue was filled with black lightning struck by Conqueror's Haki. The ordinary noble guests and some children of the Charlotte family all fainted, while the slightly more powerful pirates struggled to block them with their arms. But it was all a futile struggle, and some people still couldn't bear the growing momentum and fainted. On the other side, the atmosphere in the field was even more anxious. Even Katakuri and Smoothie couldn't help but shed a drop of cold sweat. When Xia Luo said those words, the ant's attitude changed, and the raised corners of her mouth also bent down, with a terrifying expression on her face. Soon, Morgan's attention turned back to Xia Luo and Auntie who were at the scene, and they continued to take pictures while talking. Haha, it's just the only way to achieve my dream, no one can stop me. At the same time, it is no longer the powerful oppression that is released, but Conqueror's Haki. After all, I have known Linlin for such a long time and managed to become a good friend by relying on sweet words and money. Now is not the time to be exposed. There was a hint of depth in Morgan's smile that no one else knew, but his doubts were fleeting. Only a few people were awake, but they were all frightened. This was him. For the first time, we witnessed the collision of conquerors among the overlords of the sea. You're so loud, kid. You actually said you want to challenge four of us at the same time? Do you really think you were that old lion? Even Yuki doesn't dare to challenge four of us at the same time? Well, forget it. After all, no matter how chaotic the sea is, it won't affect your business in Happy Street. These pirates are not interested in robbing the women in Happy Street. At least those powerful pirates are not interested in you. If her identity is exposed, then she will have to deal with the Morgans first. Chapter 112. Secret Undercover Stussy. This Conqueror is actually as good as Mom, Charlotte Dafu, the third son, said in disbelief. He is a powerful member of the family, and no one understands the power of his mother Conqueror's Haki better than him. But Xia Luo was actually able to compete and was evenly matched, and even he was affected by it. Also, even someone like Katakuri who owns Conqueror's Haki can't help but shed a cold sweat. The impact on him will probably be even stronger. As for Xia Luo, originally he did not have a Conqueror as powerful as Auntie, but just now, he has grown again. At the base camp of the Charlotte Pirates, he was not forced by Big Mom's momentum and threatened to challenge the four masters of the sea. This high-spirited feeling made Haki, who was already approaching the top of the world, relax. Then you enter a new realm. He feels that the power of Haki's entanglement will be stronger, and he can now control Haki to do things that he could not do before. For example, you can use Conqueror's Haki to cause a little physical damage. There is currently only one person in the pirate world who can use Conqueror's Haki to cause physical damage, and that is the Four Emperors' red-haired Shanks. His Conqueror's Haki has reached a level where it can cause physical damage. But Xia Luo has not reached that realm. He has more of such skills, although the actual effect is minimal. It stands to reason that Conqueror's Haki would naturally possess this ability after reaching a certain level. Xia Luo guessed that only Red Hair, Roger, and an IM could reach this level. And Xia Luo now becomes the fourth person to master this method, because his Conqueror's 980 was given by the system. But he relied on his own efforts and courage to truly grow Conquerors to this point, rather than just relying on system rewards. Even if Xia Luo has not learned skills such as bullying before, he will automatically master them after he reaches a level. Wow. Wow. The impact at Conquerors continued, and the tables were blown over by the wind, but strangely, some people who fainted had their clothes torn, and some female guests. It also revealed its spring glory. The ant was startled when she saw this, and the Conqueror's Haki of the two people also scattered in the collision. Hey, I didn't come here just to fight. Although sooner or later I will come to seize the red historical text, let's forget it this time. After all, I've eaten so many delicious desserts at your place and got along quite happily with your daughter. It's a bit too unkind to be treated like this and ruin the place. I don't want to fight with you and destroy this island, so I won't come again next time. Xia Luo waved his hand to the ant, indicating that he did not want to continue. After hearing this, the ant calmed down a little. Although she was too arrogant to think that she would lose in a fight with Xia Luo, she did not want to see the Cake Island destroyed. Well, I don't like to take advantage of others. I didn't bring any gifts to this tea party, so I'm just going to do you a favor. Seeing that Auntie was more stable, Xia Luo spoke again. Katakuri's eyes widened instantly, and then his perspective turned to Stussy behind him. A mysterious smile appeared on Xia Luo's lips, and she teleported behind Stussy before almost anyone had time to react. Then one hand grabbed her arm and the other grabbed her neck and directly restrained Stussy. Hey, Xia Luo, what do you want to do? Seeing this, the ant was furious and roared loudly. Stussy's little mouth is very sweet, and the ant likes it so tight, and she even becomes her best friend. Seeing Stussy being subdued by Xia Luo, of course her mother would not turn a blind eye. Wait a minute, Mom. Katakuri stretched out his hand to stop the ant, staring at Xia Luo and Stussy. Xia Luo still had that smile, and it seemed that Katakuri also saw what he was going to say from the future. This is why he stopped Big Mom. Why, Katakuri? You'd better give me an explanation. The ant who was about to step forward was stopped by Conqueror, and she immediately stared at him with terrifying eyes. Because Stussy is a secret agent of Cypher Pulpo directly under the Celestial Dragons. She is an undercover agent sent by the world government. As for why I know her identity, it's because she is a clone, and I happen to know the scientist who cloned her. Katakuri and Xia Luo spoke at the same time, and the tone and sentences were read out by both of them at the same time, word for word. As expected of a top observation Haki master, the ability to predict the future is really convenient. Xia Luo looked at Katakuri with appreciative eyes and praised without hesitation. The one he likes most about the entire Charlotte family is Conqueror, who is powerful, has an online IQ, is also very benevolent and loyal. I don't know why, whether it's Kaido's Jin, Whitebeard's Ponyboy, or the red-haired Ben Beckman, these people are all sensible and capable people. Moreover, the attributes of these people will be more or less very similar. They are all people with brains and very powerful combat capabilities, perfect candidates for second in command. Your Excellency Xia Luo is so complimentary, but how do we know that what Mr. Xia Luo said is true? Katakuri asked calmly with a calm face. Yes, Master Xia Luo must have made a mistake. I am just a weak woman. How can I be an undercover agent of the world government? I'm afraid it's because Sir Xia Luo has taken a liking to him that he used this kind of thing as an excuse, right? It doesn't matter, even if Sir Xia Luo doesn't use this excuse, he will serve Sir Xia Luo well. When Xia Luo and Katakuri revealed their identities, she was suddenly shocked that her identity was exposed and she knew it so thoroughly. After Katakuri raised doubts, she continued her performance, showing the temperament of a weak woman to the fullest. He also took the initiative to seduce Xia Luo, leaning back slightly and rubbing her gently. The other hand that was not restrained gently supported Xia Luo's arm that was holding her neck. Breathing out a breath of white turbid air, she licked her lips with her tongue, exuding her charming temperament that often haunts Happy Street. As a CPO agent, acting is an essential skill. Now she is not giving up, trying to win over Charlotte Linlin's trust, and looking for an opportunity to provoke a conflict between Xia Luo and Auntie. Don't rush to refute. I haven't told you the key information yet. Xia Luo came close to Stussy's ear and whispered softly, with an intriguing smile on her lips. Liquor, as for the cloned body of Stussy, I believe you should be very familiar with Charlotte Linlin. Xia Luo looked at the ant and said calmly, Huh? What do you mean? The ant was a little confused and stared at Xia Luo's figure, not knowing what he wanted to say. Haha, Stussy's clone was once your companion on the same boat. Xia Luo's words were shocking, and her eyes narrowed. Along with me. On the same ship. Could it be? Ant opened her mouth wide and said intermittently. That's right, it was Stussy, a member of Rock's pirate decades ago. Xia Luo spoke slowly. The ant's expression was stunned, and her mind fell into recollection. The memory gradually emerged of a woman with long blonde hair, slowly overlapping with the appearance of Stussy in front of her. Bajingam Stussy. The ant whispered softly, thinking about this woman she had only met a few times. She was also a collaborator of Rock's, and she had her own purpose in joining the Rock's pirate. Until Rock's failed, all the original members of the pirate group fell apart. Golden Lion, Whitebeard, Kaido, Ochaku, and himself all became famous pirates in the New World. There are also people who have completely disappeared. There is the former Amazon Lily Emperor, Gloriosa, who has collaborated with Rock's. There is also Kurozumi Higurashi who worked with Cross but left 3 years before the Battle of the Valley of Gods. There is also Stussy, Gujingam who once pursued Whitebeard but failed and left Rock's pirate, too. There was no news from these people after that. It wasn't until Xia Luo mentioned it that Auntie slowly recalled Stussy's face in her memory. Stussy. I see, who is this woman? I didn't expect that, Stussy, you are actually an undercover agent planted by the world government. The ant came back from her memories, muttered to herself, and then showed an angry look on her face. He spoke with an expression. Stussy was also shocked that Xia Luo actually knew her true identity. Does Xia Luo really know one of the members of MADS who made her? Can she know so many details? She was the first clone successfully created by 5 MADS scientists back then, and the gene she used was exactly that of Bajingom Stussy from MADS. She still has a certain mission and cannot break away from the world government yet. She is a double agent. Her true identity is actually from Vegapunk's side, and she has been spreading the message of world government to Vegapunk. Regarding the current situation, Stussy felt that something was not good. Since his identity had been completely exposed, he could only retreat. With her remaining hand, she slowly took out a lipstick from the small bag she carried with her. Huh? Want to escape? You don't think you can escape from me, do you? Xia Luo looked disdainful and took out the lipstick from Stussy. He knew that this woman wanted to escape. This is a mouth containing sea stone. If a person with abilities is drawn into it, he will fall into a powerless state and cannot actively use his abilities. As long as Xia Luo is drawn, she still has a chance to escape from here with her skills. Without lion fruits Xia Luo, few people can catch her in the air. Sir Xia Luo really loves to joke. It's all your fault that you were too rude, pinching people's necks so hard, and ruining their makeup. They just wanted to touch up their makeup. Stussy showed a resentful look in her eyes and gently rubbed Xia Luo in order to make him relax his vigilance. Then she calmly applied a layer of lipstick on her lips, which made her supple lips more rosy and alluring. After applying it, Stussy made a move that shocked everyone. This woman. What does she want to do? Custard shouted angrily, clenching his fists with a fierce look in his eyes, and stared at Stussy fiercely. I saw Stussy turn her head to the side after applying lipstick, and then kissed Xia Luo on the neck from behind. Stussy seemed to be addicted, her lips pressed against Xia Luo's neck for a long time, and then she slowly withdrew. Xia Luo looked down, looking at this confident and proud woman. His skin is as hard as steel and he's not afraid that Stussy will use her horns. The teeth are broken, and Xia Luo's drug resistance and Haki are both very strong. Stussy knows it is impossible to put Xia Luo into sleep regardless of using abilities or poison. Her fangs cannot bite Xia Luo's skin. My identity has been exposed. What a miscalculation. I didn't expect that after lurking for so long, I would be exposed today. It's been a great time spending time with you, Lin. Stussy put his hand on Xia Luo's arm, and then exerted a slight force, intending to free his neck first. Is it possible that Xia Luo is still wearing a personal head mask to cover her real skin? No effect. But no matter how hard she tried, she just couldn't pierce Xia Luo's skin. Instead, saliva stuck to his neck. As a user with Piao Piao fruit ability, Xia Luo, even if she has strong strength, 0.9 cannot withstand the pressure of sea stone. She pressed against Xia Luo's neck again, trying to bite his skin with her teeth to activate her abilities. It's useless. Besides drooling all over me, what else can you do? Xia Luo said calmly with a speechless expression on her face. But what happened next left her in shock. No matter how hard Stussy tried, Xia Luo's arm could not move at all. Sea stone is useless against Xia Luo. Even its own fangs can't pierce his skin. What kind of monster is this? It's so pervert around its body. TCH. Stussy gritted his teeth and said, from a distance, it looked like a young couple flirting. Stussy kept kissing Xia Luo's neck. Damn it, how can there be such hard skin that can't be broken by bites? Stussy looked unwilling, she couldn't figure it out. Xia Luo smiled sarcastically, as if he was looking at a clown. His fruit had no side effects, and neither the sea nor the sea stone had any effect on him. Stussy looked at Xia Luo with frightened and confused eyes. She couldn't figure out why her sea stone lipstick was already printed on Xia Luo's neck. Then she stretched her head up again, and this time she opened her small mouth, revealing 4 sharp fangs. The restrained hand struggled continuously but could not escape Xia Luo's clutches. Stussy has regained her former composure. Now she can no longer refute, and she is fully prepared, which makes her calm. All that remains is to escape from Cake Island. How is that possible? Aren't you a devil fruit user? Sea stone actually has no effect. Chapter 113. Free food, free drink, free whoring, Chiron. Stop licking, you can't escape my grasp. If you don't want more of your secrets to be exposed, just be honest with me. Seeing Stussy's angry look, Xia Luo was happy, and then whispered in her ear. The hot breath blowing on Stussy's neck gave her a strange feeling, but the last sentence shocked her so much that she didn't dare to move, and her momentum also weakened. She didn't know how many secrets Xia Luo knew about her, but her biggest secret now was of course her identity as a Vegapunk undercover agent. If even this is exposed, not only will she be affected and unable to return to world government, but Vegapunk will also be in trouble. She didn't know who the maker Xia Luo was talking about was, or whether her previous identity would be exposed. When Katakuri heard Xia Luo's last sentence, he couldn't help but frown, feeling that this matter was not as simple as he thought. There must be some unknown things hidden in it. Your Excellency Xia Luo, although I don't know what the dispute is between you and this woman, can you hand this woman over to us? After all, she deceived her mother. There must be an explanation. And she doesn't know how many secrets she has obtained from the Charlotte family and reported them to Marine. We must deal with her. This matter is already related to their Charlotte family, and it is no longer time to please Xia Luo. Katakuri will still make strong demands when it's time to be strong, and he can't let the Charlotte family lose face. Why are you talking so much nonsense, Katakuri? Hey, Xia Luo, kid, hand over this bitch. I will forget about the past and let you leave this island safely. The ant roared angrily, staring at Stussy. This look made Stussy feel a little penetrating, as if he was about to eat her. If she was really left here, she would have to shed her skin even if she didn't die. I am the prisoner of Master Xia Luo, so of course I have to follow you, and you are also looking forward to your service, right? Lin, I'm sorry, if you want to catch me, you have to defeat the Underwear Master before reaching 24 lines. Stussy's face was flushed, her hips kept rubbing against Xia Luo behind her, and then she said to the ant with an apologetic look. Until this time, she did not forget to sow discord and try to find opportunities to escape from here. She is so thoughtful. She is indeed a woman who can be an undercover agent. Xia Luo looked at her with a half smile. Master Xia Luo really loves to joke. I am just a weak woman. What can I think of you? I just want to serve Master Xia Luo. Sir, please protect me well. Stussy pretended to be pitiful, but her every move and gesture was full of flattery, and she didn't forget to give him a wink when she said the last sentence. This look made the ant even more angry. She raised her hand and turned Napoleon into the form of a sword, and wanted to rush over the next second. I only said that I would do you a favor, but I didn't say that I would give Stussy to you, so I can only apologize. Xia Luo shook her head helplessly. Stussy was just trying to escape by pretending like this. He didn't think she would fall in love with him because of his charm. Although this woman has her own ideas and is just like ordinary people, no matter how much she wants, she will only take orders from Vegapunk. But Xia Luo would not really leave her alone and let her be torn into pieces by her aunt. After all, this skin is very beautiful, so Xia Luo would not waste it if she could. In that case, I will knock you down first and then deal with this bitch's affairs. The ant showed a ferocious smile and said in a charming tone. Now she can't control so much. Stussy has lied to her for so long and obtained so much information from her. This is related to her four emperor's face. If she doesn't handle it well, then what face will she have to hang out in this sea? The Conqueror's Haki just now didn't knock everyone to sleep. For example, Morgan's, a veteran, withstood Conqueror's hit, and it seems that he also has some hidden strength. Hearing this, Xia Luo also smiled helplessly. Then he grabbed Stussy's waist and hips with one hand and hugged her tightly, not wanting her to escape. My chest muscles are really strong, and they smell good. Stussy snorted, then lay obediently in Xia Luo's arms, caressing Xia Luo's chest muscles with her palms, and took a deep breath with a very rosy face. Don't be too handsy, or I'll deal with you later. Xia Luo slapped her little hand away, signaling her not to move. Then people are looking forward to it even more. How will Sir Xia Luo treat the little girl? Woolen cloth. After hearing Xia Luo's words, Stussy became even more presumptuous. Looking at Xia Luo with a seductive look on her face, she stuck out her tongue and licked her lips. What a fairy, even more seductive than Reiju. Xia Luo secretly clicked her tongue, and the fire in her heart was stirred up. The hands that grabbed Stussy's waist and hips squeezed hard. Yeah, Stussy let out a coquettish cry, her eyes sparkling, and the woman's charm was displayed vividly. Reiju. Xia Luo breathed softly. Understood, Captain Xia Luo. Hearing this, Reiju slowly stood up. The people in the Charlotte family around him all looked unkind and surrounded Reiju in a vague gesture of encirclement. As early as the confrontation between Xia Luo and Auntie, some people had already started to focus on Reiju. She is the person brought by Xia Luo. Of course she will not be trusted by the Charlotte family and is monitored all the time. Then Xia Luo put her hand to her mouth and whistled loudly while everyone looked at her with doubts. Don't try to escape. The ant's eyes flashed red, she raised her sword and rushed forward. Call out. Just when she was about to approach Xia Luo, a red comet crashed down from the sky. Boom, the earth shattered, and countless clouds of smoke and dust were thrown up, blocking the procession. The children who originally surrounded the Charlotte family also raised their arms to resist some splashing gravel. But just because of this gap, Reiju's figure has disappeared from their encirclement. What? That woman ran away. Catch her quickly. After putting down his arms, Owen, the fourth male, looked at the empty chairs and shouted loudly in an instant. But it was too late. Reiju also appears next to Xia Luo now. Next to them was the Sky Comet Dragon that had just landed. Tian Weilong has been wandering in the nearby sea, occasionally preying on a sea beast or the like in the sea, otherwise it just stays at the highest place and takes a nap. After hearing Xia Luo's call, he opened his eyes instantly, and then swooped down to the ground like a red comet. What's going on? What dares to disturb me? The ant waved her arms, and a gust of wind blew away the smoke from the scene. At this time, Xia Luo, Stussy and Reiju were already standing on Tian Weilong's back. Tianwei Dragon also floated close to the ground, with 6 gun barrel-like gun wings shooting out red dragon energy. Looks particularly Haki and handsome. Let me handle this trouble for you. Peace of mind, I won't reveal the secrets of your Charlotte family. Xia Luo smiled and waved to the ant and others below. Wait a minute. Have you given up, you brat? Come down and fight me for 300 rounds? Auntie's red eyes stared at the 3 people and 1 dragon in the sky. Although she was secretly praising Tianwei Dragon as a special dragon species, she was more angry at Stussy and Xia Luo. Although she was angry, she did not lose her mind and would still use provocation to prevent Xia Luo from leaving. Forget it, instead of fighting you for 300 rounds, I would rather go back and fight Stussy for 300 rounds first. Well, I had a great time coming here this time. In return, I also eliminated a potential threat for you. It's a gift to you. Now we don't know each other. Oh. Then next time we meet, we will be enemies. Wash my neck and wait. I will defeat you and take over the entire Charlotte family, but don't worry, your daughters I'll take care of it too. Xia Luo, who was above the sky, was not affected and spoke calmly. After speaking, she also blinked at Smoothie, Garrett and others below. The meaning is obvious, one day Xia Luo will take them back. Then Tianwei Dragon suddenly accelerated and took off directly into the sky, turning into a red comet and flying towards the distance. Stop, you brat, don't even think about escaping. Zeus. Auntie shouted angrily, unwilling to let Xia Luo leave. Yes. Mom. Zeus responded obediently, then turned into a thundercloud and floated in front of the ant. As soon as he saw it, he was about to jump up and chase after Xia Luo. At this time, Katakuri stretched out his hand to stop him. Wait a minute, Mom, we can't catch up with Xia Luo now. It's more important to settle down the tea party first. Even if we catch Xia Luo, I'm afraid it will take a few days to decide the winner. If the other 4 emperors find out, they will definitely take the opportunity to seize the territory near Cake Island. Without your power, it will be difficult for us to defend the territory of Cake Island. Rather than chasing him now, it is better to wait until he comes to us in person and defeat him. Katakuri looked helpless and tried his best to persuade his aunt to act impulsively. It's impossible to catch up now. If he catches up to Xia Luo's territory, he might be beaten up, and it will be much more troublesome then. Moreover, ability users have more or less troubles when fighting at sea, and it is difficult for the Charlotte family to support Big Mom. It would be better to wait until Xia Luo comes to defeat him. Anyway, the text of history is in their hands, and they can make long-term plans. Shut up, Katakuri. Auntie ignored it and stepped on Zeus to fly away, but the speed was much slower than Tian Wei Dragon. Tian Weilong has already disappeared, and Auntie can't even eat the exhaust fumes. Master Xia Luo, Custard had a tangled look on his face, looking worriedly at the direction Xia Luo was leaving. Why did things develop like this? It was going smoothly at first, until they got Xia Luo's favor. After that, the sisters married Mr. Xia Luo and lived a happy life together. Their mother's dream was a big step closer to being realized. Everything was originally moving in a good direction, but why did unexpected things always happen and disrupt things along the way? Custard stood there in despair. The wedding plan was ruined, and the prince he dreamed of was gone. Sister Custard, don't worry, there will still be a chance when Mother defeats Xia Luo and makes her surrender. Smoothie patted her back and comforted her. Smoothie. Custard forgot to glance at her and was silent after that, but his spirits improved a lot. It seems that comfort still plays some role. On the other side, Xia Luo rode Tian Wei Dragon quickly towards Longyu Island. Tian Weilong accelerated and directly broke through the sound barrier and flew at a faster speed. At the same time, the scales on his back also rose, shielding Xia Luo and the others from the strong wind and the heat caused by their fast flight. Xia Luo's physique is pretty good and she can withstand the weather. Weilong's heat when flying, but Reiju and Stussy are not so good. Therefore, Tian Wei Dragon can only fly within the range they can bear, and it will be easier to bear with the obstruction of scales. Captain Xia Luo, what are you going to do with this woman? After Reiju put the sea-stone handcuffs on Stussy, he also placed them on Xia Luo and asked curiously. How can I deal with it? Deal with her first, and then I'm very angry now. Reiju can only trouble you first. Xia Luo glanced at Stussy angrily, then hugged Reiju and said softly. Reiju rolled her eyes at him, understood what Xia Luo was thinking now, and then leaned down. Stussy on the side couldn't cover her mouth because her hands were handcuffed with sea stones, so she could only watch everything in front of her with her mouth wide open. After a long time, when they were about to arrive at Longyu Island, Xia Luo was done. Xia Luo landed quietly on Longyu Island. The open space that was originally a training ground was transformed into a large garden, and Gaisa and Ga. She was so powerful that she didn't know if she could control Xia Luo. Reiju also arranged her clothes, pursed her slightly red and swollen lips, and gave Xia Luo a strange look. Read it carefully and study it carefully, you will be able to use it in the future. Xia Luo stretched out feeling refreshed, and then said to Stussy in a lazy tone. What's more, she has never tried it once and only has this theoretical knowledge. Therefore, its appetite is not small, and it needs to eat a sea beast every time it sails for a period of time. He could tell at a glance whose island this island belonged to. Now Tian Weilong's flight speed has slowed down a lot, and only a safe landing is needed to return to Xia Luo's base camp. The most eye-catching thing was that Gaisa and Judge were arguing about something, and both of them looked red in the face. He picked up the 2 beauties beside him and jumped down. Gee, the girls and Indigo all gathered in this garden. Tian Weilong also dived into the sea after they went down, and then carried a giant sea beast to the highest peak of an island to enjoy it. She has watched the whole process, and I have to say that Xia Luo is really solid in all aspects. Xia Luo looked at the sea below, and there was a huge island docked near Longyu Island. Reiju, it looks like your father has arrived too. Come on, let's go down and have a look. In response to this, Stussy could only blink her cute big eyes and was speechless. The dragon energy it consumes also needs to be replenished, and the meat of these sea beasts is the best energy replenishing material. Chapter 114 The 2 strongest scientists who put aside their past feud. As soon as he came down, Xia Luo saw Nami waving to him. Haha, this little girl can still detect it after hiding her aura like this. Xia Luo shook her head and chuckled. She originally wanted to go over and give her a big scare, but she didn't expect to be discovered before she even started. Tian Weilong was flying 10,000 meters above the ground, covered by thick clouds, so no one below probably saw Xia Luo Kong landing quietly. But Nami's keen radio sense still discovered it. Xia Luo slowly floated over with Stussy and Reiju and landed in Nami's body. After greeting all the women, he asked softly, "What happened to Geisa and Judge?" "Well, it's a little troublesome. The two of them started quarreling for some reason as soon as they met. They're still quarreling very happily. No one is convinced by the other." Hearing Xia Luo's inquiry, Nami also said with a helpless expression. On the way to Xia Luo's tea party, Judge's ship happened to arrive near Longyu Island. Nami and others also brought him to the island, and then let Judge, Indigo, Geisa and others get to know each other first. After all, they will be colleagues in the future. But who would have thought that Judge and Geisa would become very unhappy after meeting, and even a fight broke out. The two used to be colleagues and were very at odds at work, which led to the scene that Xia Luo saw. Both Geisa and Judge were breathing heavily, and both looked a little embarrassed. One is on the head, the other is on the right eye, and both of them have big swelling. "You are still as strong as ever, which makes people feel really uncomfortable," Guy said with a tired and angry look on his face. "Both in each other, I also feel very unhappy when I see your face." The Judge did not show any weakness, and directly shouted back and cursed. You see, just like this, these two people seem to be born with a dislike for each other. Nami also spread his hands and said helplessly. The two men had been quarreling for some time, and when they first started fighting they tried to break up the fight. However, after seeing that neither party had a fatal blow and was just fighting like children playing, they stopped interfering in their affairs. But I don't know how to persuade the two to live in harmony. Xia Luo also had no idea where to start. He knew that the two of them had a relationship during the Mads period. Contradictory, but I didn't expect to hold grudges until now. Indigo was beside the two of them, constantly performing gestures and movements, following his movements. The weird noise from his shoes also kept making. "Just be quiet. Speak to me." Geisa and Judge both cursed at the same time, their eyes turned into triangular white eyes, and their mouths turned into shark teeth. One person punched Indigo. Two big bumps appeared on Indigo's head, and then his eyes turned into mosquito-repellent eyes and he fell down. Hey, just enough is enough." Xia Luo pinched her eyebrows with a headache and stood up to stop the two of them from continuing to quarrel. HMPH. Seeing Xia Luo appear, the two of them also restrained themselves a lot. At the same time, they crossed their arms and turned their heads to the side, not wanting to see each other's face. You don't have to give face to others, but Xia Luo is their big benefactor, and he has extremely strong strength. It's impossible not to give him face, and besides, Xia Luo is Guy Caesar's boss, so Caesar doesn't dare to make any mistakes. How can you surpass Vegapunk and become the world's #1 scientist if you continue to argue like this? Xia Luo also had no choice but to persuade him that he had no choice but to use some aggressive methods. I hope this can make the two of them more harmonious and have a common goal. Vegapunk, the two of them thought of Vegapunk's face and his big head at the same time. If it hadn't been for Vegapunk, that experiment would have definitely succeeded. I would have become the strongest scientist. Guy said with a look of resentment. Obviously something happened back then that made him very resentful of Vegapunk. Stop joking, I am the one who surpassed Vegapunk and became the strongest scientist, but what you said is indeed true. If Vegapunk hadn't blocked it, maybe the experiment would have been successful. Judge looked at Guy with disdain, but after talking about it, he was in a very bad mood. That incident also left him with bad memories. Haha, just look at the sad of my current artificial devil fruit. It's obvious that my experiment is better. Guy spread his hands as if to show something, and laughed loudly. What's the use of your half-finished devil fruit? If it fails, it will have strong side effects. My modified soldiers are the strongest, there is no pain or fear. They are born with the strongest warrior physique. My experiment is the real one. A successful masterpiece. Judge still had that disdainful look on his face, and waved his hand to show Geisa his 3 sons and a group of reformers. Then when he talked about his power of transforming people, his 3 sons and the transformers also showed contemptuous smiles. At this time Xia Luo interrupted. I'm sorry, whether it's Guy's artificial devil fruit or your cyborg clone, Vegapunk has already surpassed you. Xia Luo spread his hands and shook his head helplessly. He wanted to give the two of them a heavy blow. Nani? What are you talking about? Both of them looked at Xia Luo closely with gloomy and nervous expressions. Not to mention the artificial devil fruit, Vegapunk has created an artificial devil fruit with different colors but a perfect replica of Kaido's abilities. Do you know this, right? Seeing the two people's reactions, Xia Luo smiled happily. He knew that the two had taken the bait, and now he only needed to transfer their hatred to Vegapunk. After hearing this, Geisa also had a look of unwillingness. What Xia Luo said was indeed true, and he personally offered this fruit. Haha, let me just say you are a failure. Judge showed an expression of gloating and did not hesitate to add insult to injury and laughed at Geisa crazily. Geisa also looked at Judge with an angry expression. If Xia Luo hadn't been here, he would have rushed up to fight him in the next second. Don't be too happy too early, Xia Luo interrupted him. Huh? Judge turned to look at Xia Luo in confusion. Vegapunk has now created a pacifist. This is a modified person made by Vegapunk who can shoot sparkling fruit lasers. And now Vegapunk is already developing the green blood of Paramecia devil fruit. There is no doubt that he is already far ahead of you in the field of blood factors. Xia Luo said calmly. How is that possible? Paramisha's devil fruit ability. The blood factor should only be able to replicate Zone's devil fruit ability. Judge looked in disbelief and refuted Xia Luo's remarks. That's why you guys will never be able to surpass Vegapunk if you continue to argue like this. This is a fact. Vegapunk is indeed almost completed. Paramisha can. The blood factor of force. It's not so much Paramisha's blood factor as it is another new technology based on blood factor. Judge lowered his head, his eyes full of shock. Seeing this effect, Xia Luo was still very satisfied. Both of them lowered their heads, looking very disappointed. It seemed that what Xia Luo said had a huge impact on them. Although the two have different scientific research directions, they both started to develop in different directions based on blood factors. However, Vegapunk easily surpassed both of their research directions and reached their unprecedented heights. This was a huge blow to the two super genius scientists. So, instead of you two arguing here, it's better to join forces first and integrate your two technologies to create new technologies that surpass Vegapunk. After beating the stick, it was time for Xia Luo to give the two of them a date. Blindly attacking them will only make them lose confidence, so they don't need to be encouraged. Haha, it must have been Vegapunk who was jealous of our research success. He was the real stumbling block, if we can go further. You can definitely surpass him, although I'm very unhappy. What you said makes sense. If it weren't for Vegapunk's obstruction, our technology would definitely surpass Vegapunk. The two looked at each other as if they were sympathetic, and then seemed to have made some important decision. Then let's join forces again to defeat Vegapunk, Guy smiled excitedly. With the combination of our two technologies, even Vegapunk cannot surpass it. Judge also smiled. The two of them reached out and grabbed each other at the same time. At this moment, they both abandoned their previous grudges because they had a common enemy. But, the way the two of them shook hands and smiled at each other, Xia Luo looked full of passion no matter what. Is this an accidental pairing? Xia Luo covered her face and refused to watch this scene, but the result was good. The two were already planning to form an alliance. Didn't you handle it well? Why are you covering your face? With a smile on his face, Nami walked up to Xia Luo, patted his shoulder, and asked doubtfully. It's nothing, it's my own fault, don't worry about me. You can't tell Nami that you feel uncomfortable seeing these two people being so erotic, right? Speaking of which, there was no unexpected incident there, right? Were there any injuries or anything like that? The problems between Guy Saw and Judge have been resolved, and Nami begins to worry about Xia Luo. It only took half a day for them to attend the tea party. Why did they come back so early from the tea party that they originally had for a few days? It seems that something unexpected happened, so Nami is still a little worried about Xia Luo. Haha. Don't you know what my physique is like? There are not many people in this world who can hurt me. Even the 4 emperors may not be able to defeat me. Xia Luo hugged her and rubbed her buttocks, saying with a wicked smile. No serious person. Nami rolled her eyes at him and dropped his mischievous hand. Well, all kinds of accidents happened, but they have been settled, so don't worry. Xia Luo's eyes also softened, and he looked at the girl in his arms tenderly. Nami was the first to be with him and has always had deep feelings for him, no matter what. No matter what happened, they immediately came up to care about Xia Luo's situation. Every time he comes back, Nami makes him feel like he's home. In this chaotic sea, Xia Luo did not expect to experience the warmth of home, and he also loved Nami very much. Of course, this is not only the credit of Nami alone, other women also work hard for this big family. But for Nami and the others, Xia Luo is the one who gave them home, so they cherish their current life very much. As for the accident that Xia Luo was talking about, of course it was the Aunts Soraya and Stussy's matter. In the end, Auntie caught up with her, but due to Tien Weilong's acceleration, Auntie failed to catch up and had to return without success. Zeus, although it also has the ability to fly, its speed is only average. It is impossible to think of Tien Weilong as the king of the sky. It's fine if it's okay. Nami felt peacefully against Xia Luo's chest for a while. Then she sniffed it with her nose and frowned. Speaking of which, who is that woman? Why does that woman smell like you? Is she one of the daughters you snatched back from the Charlotte family? Nami frowned, straightened her cute little nose, and puffed her cheeks slightly, and said angrily. Well, because various things happened, I can only hug this woman and run away together, How. Xia Luo clasped her face with her fingers and laughed out loud. Then she blinked at Reiju as if she remembered something and said. Bajingdom Stussy. He. Reiju covered his mouth and chuckled. Nami's face turned even crimson. Because she was wearing sea stone handcuffs on her hands, she looked particularly conspicuous. Reiju tapped her lips lightly, pretending to be charming, and did not forget to give Xia Luo a wink back. Long time no see, Gaisa, Judge. Sure enough, Nami's face suddenly turned red after being rubbed in the face by Xia Luo and making such a request in front of so many people. What? What are you doing in broad daylight? If you want, just wait till night. Gaisa and Judge on the other side finally finished chatting, and their eyes showed full of confidence. It's very hard to endure. I don't want to endure it at all. Could it be that? Dot, are you angry because you are not Nami? It's okay. I will make it up to you now. Then they turned their attention to Xia Luo, and when they saw Stussy's appearance, they looked shocked at the same time. Well, Reiju can testify for me that I didn't do anything extraordinary. Stussy showed a charming smile and raised her hand to greet them. Well, Captain Xia Luo really didn't do anything, he just found all his desires in others. Xia Luo looked innocent at first, then rubbed Nami's face. Stupid. Stupid. Let's talk about this kind of thing at night. Now is not the time to do these things, let me go. Nami transformed into a shark with triangular eyes and white eyes, pulled Xia Luo's cheek and roared angrily. No. No, you are not that Stussy. Their heads were like rubber fruit, instantly enlarging and stretching in front of Stussy. Chapter 115 Xia Luo and the Daughters, Home. You should be number 1, right? Geisa and Judge rubbed their chins and looked at Stussy in front of them carefully. Finally, something was wrong. Although the Stussy in front of them was the same as when they were in Mads. But Stussy is no longer young, and it is absolutely impossible to maintain this youthful appearance. Moreover, this Stussy's character is also different from the previous Stussy. The Stussy they knew was very snobbish and shrewd. The person in front of him was very elegant and quiet, with an unknown temperament revealed in his every move. Yes, it's me. It's been so long. Stussy also did not continue acting. Both of them were one of the people who created her during the Mads period, although the main project was still done by Vegapunk. But 2 people were also involved, so it was impossible to deceive these 2 people. It's amazing. I didn't expect that after so many years, number 1's appearance has not changed. He is still so young. This is absolutely impossible. With the technology at that time, it is impossible for this clone to live for more than 10 years. However, it is still the same after so many years, unless this is a new clone, or Garpunk has remodeled her. Geisa and Judge asked and answered each other. Stussy just squinted her eyes and showed a moving smile, looking at them without feeling angry. From the words that came out of their mouths, it was clear that neither of them treated Stussy as a real person. To them, Stussy was just their first successful experiment. Okay, don't think so much. This woman should have been transformed by Vegapunk again, so her lifespan and appearance will remain at this age. She is now an undercover agent of Vegapunk placed in the world government, and I just happened to catch her. Xia Luo stopped Geisa and Judge from continuing their discussion and interrupted directly. As expected. Have you accepted Vegapunk's new transformation experiment? Damn it, Guy said as if that was the case, while Judge looked unwilling. Vegapunk once again surpassed him and was able to maintain the longevity of clones, something he has not yet been able to do. The lifespan of cloned humans is very short, and only transformed humans can live longer. It's so hard to come up with a title, and I'm becoming less and less able to come up with titles. Liquor. So, what are you going to do with this woman? Even if she is now an undercover agent planted by Vegapunk in the world government, she has nothing to do with us, right? Nami walked to Xia Luo and asked her doubts. Stussy now works as the world government and is an undercover agent of Vegapunk. She really can't figure out what Xia Luo's purpose is in bringing her back. 890 unless this LSP fell in love with her beauty, so he couldn't help but capture her and take her back as his wife. But the possibility is indeed not small, and this is not the first time Xia Luo has done it. As he thought about it, Nami nodded repeatedly, becoming more convinced of his thoughts. Since this woman is an undercover agent sent by Vegapunk, she must know some information about him, as well as his current location and the progress of the experiment. Xia Luo rubbed her chin and gave her own explanation. Greed for beauty is one thing, but if Vegapunk can be brought over, Xia Luo feels that the future development of this world has been stabilized. He didn't plan to become the king of the world without a plan. In this case, he always needed something to maintain his rule. Even if Xia Luo does not intend to be a tyrant like the celestial dragons, a certain amount of force to suppress them is still necessary. And Xia Luo plans to develop pirate technology to the level of his original life. Direction of the world. After all, the current development of pirate technology is too abnormal. It is obviously more advanced than his original world, but it is too abnormal. If the transportation in this world can be improved, he can not only be the king of the world, but with the blessing of pure gold and the sign and system, he can also be the eternal emperor of this world. If Mr. Xia Luo has such a plan, then I advise you to give it up as soon as possible. He was created by Dr. Vegapunk, and he will never betray the doctor. After hearing this, Stussy tapped his lips with his index finger, put on a pitiful look, and said, "This woman's words and deeds reveal a deeply seductive aura. She is simply tempting Xia Luo to commit a crime." However, the sea-stone handcuffs on her hands are a bit annoying, but they also unexpectedly add another attribute. Judge, you are familiar with this. Can you lift the restrictions that Garpunk has placed on Stussy? Xia Luo immediately thought of Judge, who also injected instructions into his children's blood factors that made them unable to disobey his orders. If you want to lift the restrictions of Vegapunk on Stussy, you can only start from Judge. Huh? Do you want to kidnap Vegapunk from the hands of the world government? Through the previous conversation, Judge also discovered what Xia Luo meant. Xia Luo not only plans to recruit them, but also plans to hijack Garpunk into this team. I have this plan. After all, the future world I imagine cannot be without the help of Vegapunk. Although your scientific research strength is also very strong, I also, CECF. need scientific research capabilities in other aspects, and Vegapunk is undoubtedly the best selection. Xia Luo made no secret of her thoughts and directly told the two of her determination to recruit Vegapunk. As a result, the two of them looked at Xia Luo with resentful eyes. Just a second ago, I was praising their powerful scientific research capabilities. When combined, even Vegapunk could surpass them. The next second it says Vegapunk himself has to get it, so will the love disappear? I don't know what Vegapunk put into her genetic instructions, so I can only do my best on the subject. Judge also frowned and then gave a reply. This is not a lie. The genetic problem is indeed huge, and he needs a certain amount of time to confirm it. Stussy, on the other hand, looked very calm and had great trust in Vegapunk's technology. It would be difficult for Judge alone to break his restrictions. At the same time, she also learned some of Xia Luo's purposes. It seems that Xia Luo's ambition is very big. He no longer wants to become the 5 emperors, or an overlord, or the king of pirates. He wants to rule the world, and he wants to dominate the world himself. However, Vegapunk is highly valued by the world government and has a large number of manpower to protect it. Are you sure you can snatch Vegapunk from the world government? Even if it is snatched, I'm afraid it will become a thorn in the side of the world government. Admiral and CPO agents will definitely come and snatch Vegapunk back. Judge and Guide talked to each other nonchalantly. He seemed to dislike Vegapunk and tried his best to persuade Xia Luo to cause all kinds of troubles after the hijacking. Xia Luo has not considered what they said. Vegapunk's status in the world government is not low now, and his power is indispensable to the world government. But the future is uncertain. When Vegapunk is no longer useful, that will be the time when the world government is liquidated. Well, although Vegapunk is now highly regarded by the world government, his research also touches on some aspects that the world government does not want the world to know. Moreover, he poses too great a threat to the world government, and he knows too much. Even if they are in the hands of the world government, they will not feel at ease. They can only let Vegapunk die. They will feel at ease. One day in the future, the world government will personally kill Vegapunk. Instead of wasting talents like this, it is better to recruit him into the team first. Furthermore, Vegapunk is well aware of the threat he poses, so he sent you to the world government as an undercover agent, right, Stussy? Xia Luo slowly expressed her opinion, and finally looked deeply at the woman in front of her. Stussy remained silent, and what Xia Luo said was indeed true. The first task is to deliver information to Vegapunk and ensure his safety. How about it? Do you want to speak out yourself? Although the world government regards Vegapunk as a threat, it is different here. I will try my best to develop the technology of this world, and I can give Vegapunk some technologies that he has never been involved in. Xia Luo persuaded in a seductive tone. He doesn't need to completely persuade him to surrender, he just needs to plant a seed in Vegapunk's heart. It will take root in the future, and when he truly rules the world, I believe the other party will make a choice. Now Vegapunk also has a hidden option. The other party has some relationship and secrets with the dragon. Without Xia Luo's intervention, Vegapunk is likely to join the revolutionaries after escaping 2 years later. Now that Xia Luo has intervened, the possibility of this future may be uncertain. Stussy was also silent and did not answer Xia Luo for a while. Seeing this, Xia Luo also showed a smile. Very good, the seeds have been planted and will be harvested later. Don't rush to answer. I believe that one day, Vegapunk will choose which side to stand on. Reiju, take Miss Stussy down first and settle her down, Xia Luo said to Reiju, and after the two left, she turned back. Judge, then you go to Reiju and draw a tube of Stussy's blood for research. Understood. Judge nodded, without any of the aura he had when he first met Xia Luo. It is true that Xia Luo gave him too much money before, and Xia Luo will be the key to his future success in the New World and his dominance of North Blue to revive Germa. For the sake of his dream, Judge had to surrender. Guys, please take Judge down first and let him get familiar with the environment and research directions here. I will contact you if I find out anything later. After all the explanations were given, Xia Luo asked Judge to take his scientific research team to Punk Hazard's laboratory. At present, the largest test site is still at Punk Hazard. Xia Luo also organized personnel to build a larger laboratory on the surface and moved Indigo's IQ experiment to that island. Xia Luo is looking forward to seeing how powerful the level of technology can be developed by the combination of these people. Judge's technology to transform humans and clone humans, Gaisa's technology to develop artificial devil fruit, plus Indigo IQ's biotechnology. In the future, Xia Luo is likely to have a group of Paramecia devil fruit clones with beastly physical abilities. After all, the clones created by Judge are the best experimental materials, and clones can be a perfect substitute for any experiments on the human body. Nami, is there anything else you need to explain? Seeing Xia Luo's call, Nami asked softly. No, I just wanted to ask where Karina and Perot went. Xia Luo shook her head. There are only Nami, Kaya, Nokagao, Michita, Vivi, Khalifa and others in the garden, and no one else is here. So Xia Luo also asked Nami about the whereabouts of the girls. Didn't you ask Passia to teach Shalulia how to dance before? Karina seemed very interested, so she also took Perona to learn. Lackey and Konus also followed. Sister Robin is probably still there. Let's read books and study ancient Chinese in the study room. Oh, Karina is also interested in dancing? Hearing that Xia Luo is also interested, he is looking forward to Karina and others forming a dance group in the future. Then he can play more and more games. Speaking of which, Robin seems to be able to dance. Maybe he can form a girl group or something in the future. After thinking about it, Xia Luo became excited. Let's go and have a look, Xia Luo said with interest. Hey, I knew you would be interested. Nami chuckled. Could she not see through Xia Luo's evil thoughts? Then the few of them walked towards the castle in the center of the island. By the way, how is the situation over there with Monet? There shouldn't be a big fuss after recovering the memory, right? While walking on the road, Xia Luo also suddenly remembered that Monet, whom he had captured a few days ago, had not been taken care of for 4 days. He didn't know what happened to him. It's still the same. Now I'm used to the life here, because Pacia has always taken care of her, so I'm more familiar with Pacia. By the way, because I live near Shalulia, I can have a few words with her. Hearing this, Xia Luo felt a little surprised. Did the training bear fruit so quickly? Shalulia, a proud woman, could actually strike up a conversation with Monet? This was something he didn't expect. It seems that the training of this celestial dragons is very successful. Xia Luo nodded with satisfaction. He planned to take care of this woman with a full temperament in the future. It would be more troublesome to attack such a loyal woman after recovering his memory. Time passed quickly, and it only took more than 10 minutes to walk from the huge garden to the hall of the house. Xia Luo attracted the attention of several people as soon as she walked into the hall. Robin also came to the hall from the study to read. Compared to being alone in the study, she liked the crowds more lively. Xia Luo. Karina pounced on it first. Xia Luo took it, and then took Karina around twice before stopping. What are your plans for Stussy? This woman is not like Monet. If you let her here, she might tell the world government the secrets here. Didn't you say you would be out for a few days? You didn't expect to come back so soon. What happened? By the way, I heard that you started learning dance from Pacia. How is your learning going? Do you want to perform a dance for me first? You miss me so much after not seeing each other for so long? I was also curious as to why he came back so early. So Xia Luo could only explain it once, and all the girls understood it one after another. She will ask about some missing points, but if Xia Luo has planned something, she will follow it without hesitation. Since you already have an idea, just follow your plan. Hearing this, Karina smiled and stopped asking this question. After that, I will let Stussy go and not let her go back to convey the message to Vegapunk. When the time is right, I will go and pick up Vegapunk, and then the world will. Xia Luo smiled and put down the petite and lovely girl in her arms. Pacia's dance is really difficult to learn. I feel like my feet are twisted. After hearing Xia Luo's inquiry, Karina also made a grimace Kaido. After listening to Xia Luo's explanation, Karina also lowered her head and pondered, and then expressed her worries. The strong physique she has cultivated for a long time will not make her feel pain, but the feeling of discomfort is still very strong. I always feel that Karina has become more and more clingy recently, but Xia Luo doesn't feel anything bad about this. The clingier she is, the more he likes her. Xia Luo smiled and said that he had considered Karina's uneasiness, but it was not a cause for concern. There will be real reform. After talking about the business, Xia Luo returned to her usual appearance and asked with slight interest. Don't worry, Stussy has something in our hands, and she won't easily reveal the information here to the world government. After coming back to her senses, Karina also asked curiously, and the other women also gathered around. Chapter 116 Dream Ingredients. Monet's vision. She had to bite the bullet and continued to learn. With the guidance of Pacia and Robin, she made some progress. Haha, although Ms. Karina's dancing skills are average, her singing voice is really good. It's actually quite good. If you learn to sing, you will definitely become a top singer in the world. At this time, Pacia suddenly interjected. HMPH, although I am not good at dancing, I am still very confident in singing. Karina also showed a confident expression, straightened her waist and said bye how. Speaking of which, Karina seemed to be the singer of the Golden City Gulen Tesoro when she first appeared. Xia Luo almost forgot that the other party was a super beautiful girl singer who combined beauty and intelligence. After praising her, Karina did not forget to reward her with a slap on her head. The latter also rubbed Xia Luo's palm with great enjoyment. Xia Luo's eyes shifted to Xia Lulia behind the crowd, and saw her standing there tremblingly, not daring to move at all. It's like a puppy that has committed a crime, lowering its head and waiting for punishment from its owner. Xia Luo glanced at her ankle, which was already somewhat red and swollen, and looked like she had suffered a lot. Xia Luo walked over, and as soon as she raised her hand, Xia Lulia was so frightened that she closed her eyes and her body started to tremble. Sir Xia Luo, Xia Lulia Palace also worked very hard today. Even if you sprain your ankle, you still have to keep practicing. I also wanted Ms. Kaya to come over and help bandage the treatment and then give me some verbal instruction, but Shalulia Palace was very determined to stick to it. Seeing this, Pacia hurriedly stepped forward, and Shalulia began to say nice things. She thought Xia Luo was dissatisfied with Xia Lulia somewhere and couldn't bear her being abused by Xia Luo again. Don't worry, I'm not indiscriminate yet, I can see your changes. Xia Luo signaled Xia not to be nervous, and then supported Xia Lulia's head with her hand. Xia Lulia also opened her eyes, her face was crimson and her eyes were filled with spring water. It seems that Xia Luo CPU is still very successful. Just a small praise will make the other party look grateful. Perona on the side watched this scene and her cheeks began to bulge, and soon they bulged into 2 small meatballs. Snort. Perona shook her head and hummed softly. This also attracted Xia Luo's attention, and Xia Luo walked over with a smile. Then he stretched out his big hand and hugged Perona's waist. What are you doing? Perona struggled and pushed his chest gently. Perona, our family, is also great. She had a hard day today. Xia Luo continued to reach out and stroke Perona's little head until her cheeks gradually turned red. HMPH, I don't care about your compliments. Perona pouted and turned her little head to the side so that no one could see her face. However, all the girls chuckled, which made Perona blush even more. Okay, let's get some rest together. You guys should take a break first. I happened to bring back some desserts from Big Mom, and they taste pretty good. After appeasing the little Lolita Perona, Xia Luo called the girls to gather together. Then he took out the desserts that were floating away from the space, including some caramel puff tarts and some desserts that Xia Luo thought were delicious. Wow, this is delicious. How can there be such a delicious dessert? Perona leaned against Xia Luo's chest, holding a caramel puff tower in her hand, with a happy smile on her face. Is it delicious? If it's delicious, you should eat more. These are desserts made from dreamy ingredients, which are relatively rare. Xia Luo picked up one, tore off a small piece and handed it to the girl, who ate it without hesitation. Not to mention how adorable she is. Xia Luo smiled like a father and kept feeding her. With the bonus of delicious food, Perona no longer resists Xia Luo too much and eats it honestly. Since Xia Luo had already had a big meal, she didn't let the girls grab it. Dream ingredients? What is that? The girls heard and asked curiously. They are all chefs and are very interested in the dream ingredients, Xia Luo said. These are special ingredients produced on different islands in the New World. Every special ingredient is hard-earned. I will bring some back to you if I meet them in the future. Fantasy ingredients. Sounds interesting. I heard that there is a place called All Blue in this sea. It has all the ingredients from the 4 sea areas. It is a special sea area. I really want to go there and see it. I don't know what kind of sea area it is. Okay, we will definitely pass through that sea area in the future. Our voyage is not over yet. Let's look forward to it. Xia Luo nodded and agreed to the girl's request. He was also very interested in that magical sea area. I wonder what the difference is between the Boeing Islands and the strange waters near Cake Island. Let's have some special lemon tea. At this time, Michita brought out the frozen lemon tea she had made and preserved from the kitchen and handed it to everyone. Amidst the laughter, a pleasant afternoon tea passed like this. Xia Luo told Xia Lulia to rest well and wait for the injury on her foot to recover before continuing to study with Xia. The latter nodded in agreement with a blushing face, looking at Xia Luo as if he were looking at his own white moonlight. The change in my heart is very different from before. Xia Luo walked towards Monet with some desserts and special lemon tea. I have been indifferent to this amnesiac girl these past few days, and now it's time to brush up on her. Mr. Xia Luo, you are here. Monet in the room said with a gentle smile. How is it? Are you still used to living here these days? Xia Luo walked over and placed the plate with snacks and drinks on the table beside the bed. Well, the environment here is very beautiful and the food is delicious. It's not bad these days, but I'm a little lonely and not free. Monet said softly with a smile on his face. After seeing the dessert brought by Xia Luo, his face lit up with a hint of joy. Is the dessert Mr. Xia Luo brought for me? He is so gentle. Well, try it. This is the special one I brought back from Auntie's tea party. Dessert. Xia Luo raised her head and motioned for Monet to taste it. The latter picked up a dessert and ate it, with a smile on his face. Sure enough, delicious food will make people smile happily, and Monet is no exception. It's very delicious. Thank you, Mr. Xia Luo. Monet stopped after taking a few bites, then lowered his head and thanked Xia Luo. Well, if my previous identity was not hostile to Mr. Xia Luo, then I would definitely be very happy. Monet suddenly said, a little disappointed. She likes the harmonious atmosphere among the girls on Longyu Island very much, and this kind of life is also quite pleasant. Although Monet's life is not bad now, it is still a little less free after all. There was very little she could do. Monet could only watch the other women being happy, but this happiness did not belong to her. If I can never recover my memory, it seems like a good idea to join Mr. Xia Luo's fleet. This idea came to Monet's mind. She didn't know what her dream was before, but now this comfortable, stable and warm family model made her feel longing for it. Now she also has her own dream, not the person she was before, but the person she is now. That is, she can always live such a peaceful and comfortable life. Mr. Xia Luo, can I? Monet mustered up some courage and wanted to say something, but stopped abruptly. What's wrong? Monet. Hearing the other party's call, Xia Luo raised his head and stared at her. No, it's nothing. Monet lowered his head in disappointment. That's right, I'm just a prisoner now, so what qualifications do I have to talk about joining? What if after recovering his memory, he does something that causes huge trouble to Mr. Xia Luo? This is not what I want to see now. Don't think too much, I am keeping you because I want you to join me. If Miss Monet can join my fleet, I will be very happy. Xia Luo seemed to have seen Monet's thoughts and comforted him with a gentle smile. He is here to enhance his relationship and win over Monet. If this can gain the other party's favor, why not do it? Why would you let an enemy and prisoner like me join you, even if I had? Can you let me join even though you are your enemy? Monet said with a surprised expression. To be honest, I wanted to include you in my fleet from the first moment I saw you, Monet. It's just that it was unlikely that you would join at that time, so I could only place you here. But I didn't expect that Miss Monet would actually lose your memory. This can be regarded as giving me 10 opportunities. Xia Luo said it bluntly. Monet's face was also a little blushing, and Xia Luo's words were almost a direct confession. Unexpectedly, it was for this reason that I, as a prisoner, was placed here. If Mr. Xia Luo doesn't mind, I'm willing to join you. Monet lowered his head and whispered with a blushing face. During these two meetings, she felt very fond of Xia Luo. He was very gentle and allowed her the freedom to make her own decisions. I also yearn for the life on his boat very much, since God gave me a chance to start over by causing me to lose my memory. Then why don't you take advantage of it and instead think about the illusory past? *1 She doesn't regret the decision she made now, even if she might regret it later when she regains her memory, she definitely won't now. Really? That's great. Xia Luo looked happy, but she didn't expect Monet to agree to her invitation so easily. It's just a good time to gain more favorable impressions now and win over this woman earlier. All you need to do is let this woman put her body and mind on you first. By then, no matter how hard Doflamingo tried, he could not make Monet change his mind again. Most women in One Piece have such attributes, especially chastity and loyalty. Once identified, they rarely fall in love with someone else. Even if Monet regains his memory later, it will deeply affect her. Xia Luo took out the key and unlocked Monet's seastone handcuffs. The latter moved his wrist without making any abnormal movement. Well. Monet lowered his head with a blushing face. What's wrong? Your face is so red, do you have a cold? Seeing that the other party's face was getting redder and redder, Xia Luo reached out and gently touched her forehead. No. No, Monet denied with a little panic and waved his hands. Well. Mr. Xia Luo, when joining your fleet, will you be like Miss Shululia? You must first. Suddenly, Monet's cheeks turned red and he asked cautiously. Like Shululia? Xia Luo thought with some confusion, and then remembered what he did in Shululia's room a few days ago. At that time, the room was not far from here, it wasn't far away, and Shululia shouted very loudly, so Monet probably heard everything. 0. What a mistake. I didn't expect that I didn't notice this situation at that time. If I lose my favor because of this, it will be more than worth the loss. At that time, he just wanted to vent and see how this woman, Shululia, had changed. He didn't expect that she would hide this problem. Fortunately, Monet did not hate him for this, but why is she bringing this up now? Is she already prepared? Thinking of this, the corner of Xia Luo's mouth raised a smile. He leaned forward, held Monet's chin with his hand, and said softly, Are you ready? Monet didn't reply, his eyes squinted, and the blush on his cheeks became more obvious. There's drama. Xia Luo was ecstatic in her heart, then his cheek came up. Monet closed his eyes and murmured, but without any resistance. It tastes sweet, and apart from the dessert I just ate, it also has a strange sweetness. As time passed by, Monet began to sink. It wasn't until Xia Luo let her go that the latter remembered that she needed to breathe. She kept gasping for air, and the white rabbit on her chest kept rising and falling. If Xia Luo hadn't discovered this situation, he was really afraid that Monet would forget to breathe and suffocate to death. Xia Luo pushed her down gently. Please Mr. Xia Luo, please take pity on Monet. Monet held his hands tightly in front of his chest, and the white rabbit was even more eager to come out, blushing and saying shyly. Mr. Xia Luo is so energetic, I don't know when it will be my turn. 3 hours later, Monet was exhausted from playing and left his clothes. But the war is far from extinguished, and has spread to herself. It just so happened that I had spent a lot of energy and it was time to prepare for dinner. The girls in the kitchen have begun to get busy, and all kinds of exquisite food are being made. Pacia secretly thought in her heart, but then she remembered the miserable look of Shululia when she went to clean her room in the morning before, and instantly shuddered again. Of course she was wondering what would happen tomorrow, and she was also looking forward to it in her heart. Before leaving, he told Monet to have a good rest and fight again next time, but Monet was no longer able to reply to him. Xia Luo asked Paxia to deliver food to him later, and the latter also nodded and played back with a red face. 013903224 Filu 183,462,460. After a lesson, he planned to let her go. I definitely can't bear all of Master Xia Luo by myself. I still need help from someone. In this way, Pacia had a wonderful dinner in an uneasy mood. Xia Luo walked out of the room and looked at the sun in the distance. It was almost evening. Xia Luo gently stroked her head to comfort her. A cry of pain sounded. Deleted, hit A. It is indeed the aiming assist that is known as the official plugin, and it feels great in the hand. However, Stussy said that now he has no strength to leave the island, and can only rest for one night and leave another day. Afterwards, Xia Luo brought food to visit Stussy in prison, although Reiju and Monet helped to withstand the war started by the ground today. A few hours later, I went to Monet's room to help clean up, and then witnessed a tragedy again. Chapter 117 Triple Undercover Stussy, a useful woman. The next day, Stussy got a small boat from somewhere. Looking back, we can vaguely see the shadows of the 10 islands surrounding Longyu Island in the distance. After a night of gunfire, Stussy was released by Xia Luo. Stussy looked complicated and took out a phone bug from the deep ditch in front of him. If Xia Luo could see this scene, his jaw would definitely drop in shock. Yesterday, he clearly saw that there was nothing in it, but now he can take out the phone bug. Isn't it connected to a different dimension that he doesn't know about? Bulu, Bulu, Bulu. Stussy called and was answered within a short time. Stussy? There was a questioning voice from the other side, a little surprised, but also feeling natural. Yes, Lord Five Elders. Stussy's tone and expression became very respectful and serious, and the expression on the other side of the phone also became exactly the same as hers. The person talking to her was the top leader of the world government, Stussy's direct. He is a superior and is known as the Five Elders of Alzheimer's disease by Xia Luo. What happened? Is what Morgans reported true? Wasn't your identity exposed and kidnapped by that kid Xia Luo? A series of questions spewed from the mouth of the phone bug. Obviously the news about Morgans was faster, and it must have spread throughout the sea by now. After Auntie broke out with schizophrenia, she fought with Xia Luo, Stussy's identity as a spy, and Xia Luo openly announced her challenge to the 4 emperors of the sea. Not long after the incident at Sabodi Archipelago, Xia Luo once again sparked a sea of discussion. Well, this is exactly what I want to report, Lord Five Elders. Xia Luo's power seems to have exceeded our expectations. Not even the 4 emperors can stop him. His strength has completely reached that 077 level. And he has the same ambition as the Golden Lion, and he has quite sufficient plans and strategies. He also has an extremely powerful dragon-shaped creature. Judging from the initial pressure, its strength is no less than that of a great pirate with a bounty of over 1 billion. After Stussy finished speaking, the other party fell into silence. Xia Luo showed his extremely dangerous side in Sabodi Archipelago, and they didn't pay much attention to it at the time. Mainly because he was very angry that the other party wanted to make the celestial dragons slaves. And they personally issued an order to dispatch only 5 members of the CPO, but they were all killed by him. Now they have some regrets. They should have sent the Knights of God to eliminate Xia Luo at that time. I just feel that there is some trouble that can be solved without sending out the Knights of God. Now there is no regret medicine to take, it is too late. I didn't expect that this guy Golden Lion would leave such a big trouble after his death. We have to find a way to stop him. The 5 elders started talking after the phone bug. Stussy, how did you escape from Xia Luo? The god of scientific defense holding a telephone bug, Saint Jago Lucia Satan said solemnly. Stussy escaped from Xia Luo the day after he was captured, which had to arouse his suspicion. However, Stussy has served as CPO in world government for more than 20 years and has made a lot of contributions, so he still has a certain degree of trust. But you still have to ask first if you need to check. This Xia Luo is simply a lustful ghost. He was very angry the night he caught me. I couldn't wait any longer. After he fell asleep after being exhausted, I took the opportunity to escape from his captivity and escaped from their base camp overnight. Because his body is very hard, ordinary attacks cannot break his defense. A rash attack may wake him up, so I chose to escape and convey the information here to you. Stussy had already prepared the words that Xia Luo had told her before. Except for some secrets, she can report everything else to the world government at will. I see, are you using beauty to escape? The 5 elders suddenly realized that they didn't expect Stussy to have such an escape plan. Doubts about Stussy also gradually dissipated. For other suspicious people, such flawed words are not enough to rule out suspicion. But it's enough for the Alzheimer's 5. They were so confident that they blindly believed in their own judgment. Stussy was an undercover agent they had trained for many years, and there was absolutely no way he would betray the world government. In addition, Xia Luo also had the same personality as the rumors, a playboy who loved women, so they also judged that there was no lie in what Stussy said. Master 5 Elders, Golden Lion 2 Xia Luo, since he can accurately know the identity of my undercover agent, I suspect that there has been an undercover agent in the world government. And the level of this undercover agent is not low. He can clearly know my identity. If the undercover agent is not eliminated early, it will probably cause serious trouble. Then Stussy went on the offensive again and attributed the exposure of his identity to undercover agents in the world government. This can better conceal the true situation of her identity exposure. At that time, all the guests at the tea party had fainted, and the aunt would not talk about what happened at that time. And Morgans is even more silent about this matter, although he is not afraid of world government. But knowing Stussy well, he didn't want to attract revenge from this woman, and this would also make the development of things more interesting. So Morgans chose not to expose this part of the information. So currently, only the Charlotte family, the Morgans, and Xia Luo who were still awake at the time know the fact that Stussy is a clone. I understand this. Do you have any information about the location of Xia Luo and others? After the other party nodded, he began to ask for other information about Xia Luo. Through observation, Xia Luo and his group should be located above an island in the Calm Belt, and they will change positions at any time, so I don't know the specific location. Shoo. I also managed to escape by jumping off the island in the middle of the night, gliding with something and using the moonwalk. Stussy replied calmly. The location of Xia Luo is one of the secrets that cannot be revealed. The rhetoric has already been prepared. Damn it, it's true, it's like a loach. Lion Fruit's ability is too troublesome. Upon hearing this, the 5 elders all frowned and cursed secretly. They are not afraid of Xia Luo's strength, but they are afraid of Xia Luo's ability to change positions at any time and her inability to accurately control the opponent's movements. This is one of the more troublesome points than the other 4 emperors. Without accurate information, it means unknown and cannot be controlled by them. You did a good job, Stussy. Now you can return to the world government and wait for new instructions. The new world can leave it alone for now. Others will investigate the rest. After hearing this, Saint Jagolusha Satan gave a decisive order. Instructed Stussy to return to world government, and then sent other CPCs to investigate the Bing ghost among them. It is estimated that this time, the world government will also eliminate some of the pirates dispatched. Go undercover in world government. Yes, Lord 5 Elders. Stussy hung up the phone after replying respectfully. The phone bug was stuffed back into the ravine of another dimension and looked back at the islands again. Then he controlled the boat and sailed away without looking back. Ink on the other side, Xia Luo, who woke up, hugged her side subconsciously. But it didn't have the same soft touch as before. After taking a look, I realized that Stussy was no longer there. Recalling what he sensed some time before dawn, Stussy had been gone for a while. Xia Luo didn't care at that time and continued to fall asleep. Now that she woke up, she couldn't help but feel a little pity. He could play with the other person's softness for a year. If he had known, he would have let her stay for a few more days before letting her go. After getting up again, Xia Luo stretched, then freshened up and came to the hall. After saying hello to the ladies, they began to enjoy breakfast. Today is a very special day. Because 20 days have passed since the last sign-in time, just wait until the sign-in opens at noon. Then he can get 3 more items from this century or otherworld as rewards. This means that his strength will reach a higher level, so Xia Luo is still looking forward to it. Xia Luo, come and take a look at this. The man on the sofa held a newspaper and shook it at him. Oh, why did that veteran Morgans report what happened yesterday so quickly? Not only does he have a keen sense of smell, but he also has such power of action. Being the president of a news agency is really a waste. If he became a pirate, this guy would probably be a big pirate who would cause trouble everywhere. Xia Luo took the newspaper handed by Nami, which contained exactly what happened at Cake Island yesterday. Obsessed with the star-making project, he used exaggerated methods to describe how Xia Luo fought against Auntie and played with Auntie. In the end, he snatched a beautiful CPO agent from the ant, and threatened to take away the ant's daughters after defeating the ant. There is also a large picture of Tianwei Dragon creating a shockwave when it lands on the cover. He also described the power of Tian Weilong below, and Xia Luo and his group added a new powerful warrior. This information made everyone on the sea numb. A special dragon-shaped creature possesses extremely powerful strength and can fly at supersonic speeds. It's so handsome. Everyone is jealous of the Tianwei Dragon that Xia Luo got. Kaido was even more jealous after learning about this. He himself is in the form of a fantasy beast and a dragon, and now there is a strange and powerful Western dragon, and he really wants to get it. Due to the elusive location of Xia Luo, it was impossible to find him for the time being, but he already had plans to set off in person. Haha, this old guy Morgans is really not afraid of offending people. Xia Luo said with a chuckle after reading the whole report. This report degraded Charlotte Linlin to that level. It is estimated that it will be impossible for him to attend the tea party later. Auntie may even settle the score with him later. However, with his level of concealment comparable to that of a revolutionary, it is not difficult to find him in the new world. This is why he is not afraid of Big Mom's revenge later. As long as there is big news, he will report it even if it offends the world government. Of course, it will be exaggerated and exaggerated. This is not the first time this guy has done this. Didn't he just report Shilulia's case to the authorities? Afterwards, the world government didn't choose to retaliate against this guy. It's incredible that he is still alive today. Nami shrugged and responded with a smile. Well, I guess the 5 old guys think he is still useful, or is there some PY deal involved? So even though this old bird reported many things that were unfavorable to the world government, he was still not arrested by the world government. Xia Luo didn't know much about this question and could only rely on guesswork to answer it. But all in all, it was the indulgence of the Alzheimer's 5 that led to the fermentation of many things in the original plot. Regarding this answer, Nami also scratched his head in confusion, and finally gave up thinking with a helpless expression. It is too difficult to think about what these 5 people are thinking. No one in this sea can read their minds because the brain circuits are different from theirs. Pinch, Xia Luo, when will we set off again? When Nami was free, her head rested on Xia Luo's shoulder, her eyes were lost in thought, and she said blankly. It's coming soon, in a few days, it won't stay too long. I said I would take you to draw a map of the entire world. Xia Luo held her hair lightly with her palms and played with it carefully. I have to say that the charm of Nokagao and Nami has increased several times after growing long hair. Xia Luo is also more comfortable to play. The time soon came to noon. Xia Luo's long-awaited check-in finally arrived. Ding! The sign-in system has detected the target punct hazard. Do you want to check in the target? Close black lens bracket. Sign in, ding. Get steel and iron bones, ding. Get a thunderfruit with no side effects, ding. Get a symbiosis contract. Ding. The next check-in location is Wano-kuni. Check-in will be open in 30 days. Host, please go to the check-in location to sign in. Close black lens bracket. After hearing the system's reply tone, Xia Luo fell silent. It was not because the reward was too bad that he kept silent, but because the reward was beyond his expectation. He first opened the panel to check the effect of the steel and iron bones. This is similar to the effect of his steel balloon, which makes the body as strong as steel, increases defense, and also increases physical strength. He has completely figured out the effects of thunderfruit, but the fruit with no side effects is probably as unafraid of seawater as his lion fruit. Although the surface defense is not as strong as the 0.5 steel balloon, it is better than it can strengthen the internal organs, and a major hidden danger of Xia Luo has also been weakened. The title of Kaido's strongest dual king probably needs to be replaced, and it just so happens that the next place to sign in is Wano-kuni. This skill is also a product of the same world where he obtained the ultimate sword skill. It's exactly the same as the one Nami ate at Sky Island before, even the color has not changed. Achoo, who remembered me? The defense mentioned here not only increases the surface defense, but also strengthens fragile organs such as internal organs. With the thought in Xia Luo's mind, a yellow devil fruit appeared in her hand, filled with lightning barbs and weird patterns. Now his body is completely superior to Big Mom's steel balloon, and his defense and physical strength are even better. Without paying much attention, Kaido took another sip of wine and laughed loudly. Returning to Xia Luo, he began to check out Thunderfruit, which had no side effects. There are many beauties in the Wano-kuni chapter, and some are within his hunting range, especially Yamato, who is the woman he is scheduled to pick up on the ship. Kaido, who was far away on Onigashima, suddenly sneezed and rubbed his nose. But I must get this dragon. We, the beast's pirates, are adding another admiral, ha 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 ha. Although my brain is not very good, I have really been looking forward to it for a long time because of my good looks. Weigh it in your hands and put it aside. Then he looked at the last item, the Symbiosis Karma Pact, which was something he had built into the City of Light. Ha 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 ha, this old woman Linlin is so embarrassed, she was actually played by a kid. Then let's start with Kaido. Kaido really gave birth to a good daughter, but now she is mine. Chapter 118 Double Fruit Ability Symbiosis Contract. A contract can be made after seeking the consent of a living being. After a successful contract, both parties can exchange talents and abilities, physical fitness and lifespan. If one party to the contract dies, the other party will also die. Looking at this attribute, it is a double-edged sword. It can increase the combat power of 2 people, but if it is targeted, if one person dies, the other person will also die, and 2 admirals will be lost at the same time. Xia Luo rubbed her chin with both hands and inadvertently touched the Thunderfruit on the side. Xia Luo stared at Thunderfruit, and a light bulb suddenly popped up in her head. By the way, I almost forgot that there is such a way to use it. Xia Luo tapped her left palm with her right hand and came up with a brilliant idea. He first floated to an open space, and then whistled to call Tianwei. Dex. After receiving the order, Tian Weilong responded immediately and accelerated to come to him. Xia Luo stepped forward and stretched out his palm to touch its head. Xiao Yinhe rubbed it with enjoyment while squinting his eyes. Xiaoyan, eat this first. Xia Luo threw out the newly obtained Thunderfruit, which had no side effects. Xiao Yin did not hesitate at all. After receiving the instruction, he immediately opened his big mouth and swallowed the Thunderfruit in the air. It was not enough to cram this small piece of fruit between his teeth, but he still obeyed the instructions. After a while, Xiao Yin felt a strange energy. Its claws emitted red thunder and lightning, and even the dragon aura ejected from its spear wings was mixed with fiery red lightning. Roar! Xiao Yin spread his wings and roared into the sky, and countless red lightnings shot out from his limbs. After he became familiar with this power, he stopped roaring and the thunder and lightning was taken back. Very good, it's exactly as I imagined. Xia Luo nodded with satisfaction. It seems that Cologne can also eat devil fruit. It was originally the fastest ancient dragon, but now with the blessing of Thunderfruit, even he couldn't imagine how fast Tian Weilong's ultimate speed would become. If it were a real fight, 24 himself might not be able to attack Tian Weilong's body. As for why the color of the lightning is different from that of Nami and Enel, Xia Luo estimates that it is caused by the dragon energy of Tian Weilong. The original dragon energy was red, but after combining with the ability of Thunderfruit, it directly evolved into red and black lightning. Xiaoyan stepped forward and rubbed Xia Luo happily, obviously very satisfied with this newly acquired ability. Okay, next I will use a contract with you, and you will have to agree directly later, do you understand? BWGB. B. Xia Luo also smiled, and after touching her again, she said to Xiaoyan with a serious expression. Xiaoyan nodded to express his understanding, and then Xia Luo took out the symbiosis contract and used it. A system notification suddenly sounded in Tian Weilong's mind, and he agreed without thinking. In an instant, heaven and earth trembled. Xia Luo and Xiaoyan simultaneously burst out with overwhelming and astonishing auras. It was Conqueror's Haki, but it was different from the ordinary Conqueror's Haki. It contained the terrifying aura of the little silver ancient dragon species. It's like the oppressive feeling that the top of the food chain exerts on the creatures below it. Actual storms and black lightning spread wantonly, blowing away or breaking the clouds in the sky, and the sky around Longyu Island was visible for thousands of miles. All the clones, IQ monsters, and the patrolling pirates all passed out. Even though Xia Luo deliberately controlled Conqueror's impact, they were still affected by the aura. After a few seconds, Rearing Yilong regained his momentum. It's so powerful. This power. Xia Luo was intoxicated by this power. The surging feeling in her body and the blood flowing in her muscles were completely different from before. Suddenly, he felt itching on his back, and then two gun wings-like arms broke out from behind him. Xia Luo looked at her pair of wings in surprise. It's exactly the same as the one on Xiaoyan, but it's a smaller version. But he felt that with a thought, the preemption could be completely controlled by him to change its size. At the same time, he seemed to have mastered the transformation of a fantasy beast species and could transform into a human beast form. Of course, the so-called human animal form is the transformation into a Tianhui dragon. The dragon's limbs and body, organs and blood were all passed by Xia Luo. The contract was obtained. His epidermis is also as hard as steel. Although the original epidermis was also very hard, it is now more like a set of armor. This is the attribute of dragon scales from Tianhui dragon. With a thought in Xia Luo's mind, the gun wings were retracted and returned to their usual appearance. Xia Luo, what happened? Is it an enemy attack? Nami's figure instantly appeared next to Xia Luo, looking around with some vigilance, and asked. He felt something was wrong just after hearing Xiaoyan's roar. He just let go of the electromagnetic wave sensor, but he didn't find anything abnormal. Immediately afterwards, another earth-shaking breath hit her face. This breath was somewhat familiar, and most of it bypassed her. After the breath dissipated, she immediately teleported over through Thunderfruit's ability. Hey, don't panic. I made the noise just now. I'm really sorry, I didn't pay attention and it happened like this. Xia Luo smiled and said with a very proud expression. Huh, it really scared me to death. The aura just now seemed like it was going to destroy the world. I thought it was some kind of enemy. What happened then? Did you break through again? How could such a thing happen? Such a strong momentum. Nami breathed a sigh of relief at first, then looked a little annoyed, looking at the proud Xia Luo. This guy made her lose her composure. She was almost scared away just now, but as a member of the crew, she still stepped forward at this juncture. Nami is still just like in the original work, a little timid but very strong, and will not succumb to difficulties and strength. Ha ha ha, let you see the new abilities that Xiaoyan and I have gained. Xia Luo laughed, and then winked at Xiaoyan. The two disappeared instantly. There were 10 strands of red electricity left in the same place. Xia Luo appeared behind Nami and hugged her, while Tian Weilong appeared in the air, his body turning into thunder and lightning elements and constantly shuttling back and forth. Nami turned around in shock, looking at Xia Luo hugging her with an expression of disbelief. This feeling was all too familiar to her. Isn't this her Thunder Fruit ability? Why do Xia Luo and Xiaoyan also have Thunder Fruit abilities? It's not that there will only be one Devil Fruit with the same power in this world. I have never heard of 2 Demon Fruit with the same power appearing in that era. Is this the ability of Thunder Fruit? Xia Luo, how did you obtain this ability? Is there a second Thunder Fruit in this world? Nami spoke very quickly, like a cannonball, and asked several questions in just 2 or 3 seconds. Well, let's wait for Karina and the others to come over and explain together. Xia Luo smiled mysteriously. Looking at Nami's surprised expression, she couldn't help but step forward and click. This relieved Nami's surprised look. What an incredible man. He gets something weird every time, but, forget it. Nami murmured to herself, then threw her thoughts away. She didn't know where Xia Luo got these strange abilities. Every time he reaches a specific island, he will become stronger and acquire some strange things or skills. The Wing Chun techniques taught to them before, as well as Xiaoyan's dragon egg, and the mysterious devil fruit stripper. Nami didn't know where these things came from, but she had told them that the devil fruit stripper was developed by the Golden Lion team. This was revealed after Nami asked Indigo, but she didn't say anything because he believed Xia Luo. She believed that the man in front of her would lead them to a bright future. So, this time she didn't ask too much, just silently leaned her head in his arms, enjoying the other's strong and warm chest. She is happy that Xia Luo has become stronger. Xia Luo, Captain Xia Luo, Master Xia Luo, Master God. All the girls came here and shouted worriedly at first. When I came here, I first saw the scene of Xia Luo and Nami hugging each other, then I glanced around cautiously and then relaxed. Hey, little thief cat, it's been so long since I asked for it, why did you get so horny so quickly? Karina couldn't help but stepped forward and laughed. Staring at Nami's rosy cheeks, although I didn't understand what happened, it was good that nothing dangerous or bad happened. Xia Luo reached out and hugged Karina into her arms. The latter did not resist, and just let her arms wrap around Xia Luo's waist and rest her head on his chest. The two of them didn't satisfy you yesterday. Why did you want it so quickly? Karina showed a seductive look and reached out to touch his abdominal muscles. Don't make trouble. I'm very angry right now. If I continue to make trouble, none of you will be able to escape. Xia Luo patted her butt helplessly and said, TCH, it sounds like he won't come to us at night to vent his anger. After hearing this, Karina became more at ease, moved her hands to hug Xia Luo's waist, but still said disdainfully, Come and tell us what happened. Our Lord Xia Luo. Then Karina's face became more serious and she asked, Well, for various reasons, Xiaoyan and I have reached a contract, and now we share everything from both parties, including abilities, lifespan, and physical strength. Xia Luo explained to them, Contract? Shared abilities? The girls shouted in surprise. Some of them didn't quite understand what it meant, but they could analyze it literally. What Captain Xia Luo means, Xiaoyan has gained your extremely strong physical fitness and the ability of lion fruit, and you have gained the lifespan of a mysterious creature like Xiaoyan? After Robin analyzed calmly, he blurted out the question. Yes, not only that, we also gained the ability similar to thunder fruit. The body can complete the elementalization of thunder and lightning. This should be Xiaoyan's special ability when he becomes an adult. Xia Luo nodded in agreement with Robin's statement. But Robin's analysis was not comprehensive enough. Not only did he share his lifespan, but he also shared dragon blood, dragon scales, dragon claws, dragon wings, and dragon organs. Silver also gained his extremely powerful sword skills, Haki, steel balloon, and steel iron. Bones, immortality, fire of sin and other attributes. Xia Luo glanced at Xiao Yin in the air, and the girls followed suit. Xiao Yin was seen turning into red lightning, constantly shuttling back and forth. Even though he had slowed down, everyone only saw a red comet appearing back and forth. Then after Xiao Yin chirped, its huge body began to shrink slowly, and finally became the same size as an ordinary kitten. Okay. So cute. Perona's cheeks were flushed, and she looked at the pocket version of Tian Weilong and exclaimed. He is indeed handsome and a little cute. 540. Robin nodded in approval. Although her aesthetics are very curious, but the little Tianwei dragon is so cute. Xiao Yin was also very smart, and immediately flew to the side of the two future hostesses and stretched out his head. Perona picked it up with a pair of cute big eyes. This is it, Xia Luo. Your special physique can make your body larger or smaller at will. Nami exclaimed, not expecting that even Xiaoyan could do such a thing. It seems that their pirate ship has another monster. No, it should be said that there are two more monsters. Xia Luo and Xiao Yin now have. There is a level of strength. A group of twin emperors, and they are twin emperors that may be stronger than the other four emperors. They couldn't imagine that other than Marine, there was such a force in this sea that could have such a luxurious lineup. Before sharing, Xia Luo was already at the four emperors level. Neither Admiral nor Andy could really hurt Xia Luo. Now that Xia Luo and Tian Weilong have become stronger, no one in this sea can stop this man. Hey, let me show you my stronger posture. Xia Luo let go of the two women and took a few steps back. Then there was a pop on his back, and a pair of strong and sharp spears unfolded from behind him. Then his hands and feet gradually transformed into dragon claws, his body was covered with hard scales, his pupils changed into vertical pupils, and a hard head plate grew on his forehead. Roar. A shocking roar came from Xia Luo's mouth. The girls covered their ears and opened their eyes with difficulty to stare at Xia Luo, who had transformed into a dragon-like form in front of them. This is just like Zone Devil Fruit, actually turning into a dragon. The girls looked at Xia Luo in stunned silence. This man has really brought them so much incredible things. Xia Luo's gun wings sprayed black-red lightning and dragon energy into the sky, and then disappeared without a trace in another spray. In less than a second, he had already flown high into the sky and then plunged into the sea. Xia Luo didn't feel any discomfort in the water. The dragon's lungs can breathe in the water, and the devil fruit has no side effects, so she didn't feel powerless. Ancient dragons can originally survive in deep seas, magma, extremely hot snowy mountains, and even harsher environments. To them, these climates are just like in normal areas, without any harm, and all kinds of resistances are directly filled up. Xia Luo certainly shares these attributes. In the water, he was faster than the Fishman and locked onto a huge sea kings in an instant. The next second, Sea Kings was directly penetrated, and then there was another black and red lightning left in the water, and Xia Luo's figure had disappeared. He appeared again in front of the girls. He casually dropped the super-large Sea Kings he had just caught, causing the ground to shake. Chapter 119 Target the Fishman Island. Xiaoyan, this is for you, eat it. Xia Luo pointed to the Sea Kings on the ground and said. Chirped. Tian Weilong immediately broke away from Perona, then flew to Sea Kings and began to feast. It thought it didn't eat fast enough, so it returned to its original size and started biting continuously. Originally it was very edible, but it could not store a large amount of energy in the body like Xia Luo. Now it has the property of steel balloons and Xia Luo itself to store food energy. It can eat 100 times as much food as before to store energy. 2. Too fast, 5 seconds. No, 3 seconds. It took 3 seconds from disappearing to capturing this huge Sea Kings, and judging from the wounds, it was still a one-hit kill. This speed is even more terrifying than the Thunderfruit I developed, Nami murmured in shock. Xia Luo refreshed her knowledge again. Is the lightning ability that Xiao Yin gained as an adult stronger than her Thunderfruit? Now, even the 4 emperors can't stop me. If Xiaoyan and I are together, the 4 emperors can go up together without falling behind. Xia Luo returned to her human form and said confidently with her hands on her hips. He is not talking big words, this is the confidence that the contract brings to him. Its vitality, recovery power and defense are comparable to those of a fantasy beast, plus its dual fruit ability and the most violent Logia Thunderfruit. These attributes alone are enough for a person to reach the level of the top of the sea. In addition, Xia Luo's original attributes are extremely strong, and there is no one who can threaten him in the second half of New World. It's just Captain Xia Luo, it's really reassuring. Even Robin showed a playful expression and praised Xia Luo all the time. It made the Xia Luo people almost float. It just so happens that everyone is here now, so let me make an announcement. After 2 days of rest, we are going to set sail again. Let's go back to the Fishman Island to check out the next island. Xia Luo recovered from her ecstasy and said with a smile. Okay. All the girls cheered. Is it the island known as the Undersea Paradise? It's really exciting. Robin looked longingly and smiled. I think Sister Robin, you are looking forward to the piece of historical text in the underwater forest, but it is a pity that the piece of historical text is not read. Karina smiled evilly and teased Robin. Haha, I am really looking forward to the historical text of Sea Forest. As for the red historical text, it depends on Mr. Captain. Come on, the previous agreement still counts. Of course Robin understood what Karina was teasing her about, but she didn't act like a little girl. Instead, he responded to Karina with a very calm smile and winked at Xia Luo after speaking. The meaning is already clear. This made Xia Luo feel hot inside and wanted to fly to Kaido for a fight, and then bring back the red historical text. But I just decided to go to the Fishman Island, so don't worry about it for a few days. Kaido can't escape anyway. Nami, I'll leave the coding to you. 2 days is enough, right? Xia Luo stopped thinking about it and started to change the topic and said to Nami. Okay, no problem at all. We happen to have our own coding team. There are also technicians responsible for coding a judge. If the coding is fully applied, 1 day is enough. Nami gave him an okay gesture, said, it's still early, I think it's better to do something meaningful today. It happens that I haven't practiced for a while, so let's finish lunch and go to the training room to practice for a while. Xia Luo looked at the sun hanging high in the sky and decided, it's time to test the growth of the girls these days. Your conquerors just made a mess in the kitchen, you can clean it up for me later. Speaking of lunch, Nami glanced at Xia Luo with some anger. They were making delicious dishes at noon, but were suddenly interrupted by Xia Luo's conquerors, leaving the kitchen in a mess. Before they had time to clean up, everyone rushed out immediately. Hey, hug me. Xia Luo smiled sheepishly, knowing that he was at fault, so he took over. But these things were ultimately done by the 2 maids of God and several other women. Xia Luo picked up the 2 girls, then stopped with his gun wing, gently lifted up the other girls, and then flew towards the center of the island. Holy Land Marijoy. The 5 elders, who were in high positions, began to think of ways to stop Xia Luo after finishing the call with Stussy. Currently, Xia Luo's lion fruit has left its position uncertain, and the world government cannot accurately control his information. I didn't expect that we all underestimated this, Golden Lion too. He is very likely to become the guy who stirs up troubles in this era. The god of science and defense, Jago Lucia Satan, was sitting on a chair, leaning on a cane and speaking with a serious expression. Do we need to send Admiral to pursue us? Saint Topman Wachuli, the legal affairs officer, asked with wide eyes. We don't have his specific location. Stussy also said that his island will keep floating in the sky and moving, so sending Admiral is just useless. Marcus Masheng, the god of environmental martial arts, said expressionlessly, but it seemed that he still didn't take Xia Luo seriously. Furthermore, he also promised to challenge the 4 emperors of New World. This is undoubtedly asking for death. Without us dealing with it, he will be eliminated by those guys from New World. Financial martial god Izanbalan V. Nisholong Sheng gently wiped the blade in his hand and said casually. But we can't just let it go and do nothing, right? The last of the 5 elders, Shepherd Tenpit, the god of agriculture and martial arts, said seriously. Have you thought of any good ideas? Saint Satan glanced at him, and then asked in a calm tone. Well, in short, just attack the opponent's weakness. Don't Xia Luo like beauties very much? Then choose a young and beautiful woman from Marine and CP agents, and the identity should not be too obvious. Then place him in his pirate group. It does seem like a good idea. But how should we place these spies into his pirate group? His position is not fixed. We can only wait now. The other party is definitely not the kind of person who is comfortable with his current life. If you send a CPO to search for their traces, there will always be mistakes. Then follow this plan, send the CPO to search for traces, and then call Sengoku and ask him to compile a list of beautiful women in Marine. Then select a few Marines who are suitable to be agents and find an opportunity to insert them into Xia Luo's group. After the discussion, the 5 elders made a decision. Compared to doing nothing, this approach is indeed a good idea. At least if they succeed, they can actually obtain the information on Xia Luo, and the price is only a few women. It doesn't even cost much, it's really a great deal. Xia Luo's deeds are constantly fermenting these days. Many people in the sea have recognized his title of 5th Emperor. Everyone understands that this sea is about to turn into a huge wave. The 5th Emperor openly challenges the old 4 emperors. Is this the transition between the old and the new, or is the newcomer just being slapped on the beach? As the protagonist, Xia Luo has already brought people to the sea. As Nami said, coding only takes 1 day, and then Xia Luo flew the Longyu to the bottom of the red line. Follow the direction of the pointer and dive into the deep sea. Although the sea is like a dream, there is boundless darkness in the deeper depths, and even the sun cannot shine into the deep sea. But in this deep sea, there is a bright place. This is the Fishman Island, a deep sea island known as the underwater paradise. It is located at the bottom of a tree called Sun Tree Eve. Sun Tree Eve can absorb sunlight through the top of the tree and transmit it to its roots, causing its roots in the deep sea to emit as strong light as sunlight. This is why the Fishman Island deep under the sea can have day and night just like the land. Is this the underwater world? It's so beautiful. Nami's eyes were bright, looking at the little dot at the bottom with anticipation and yearning. The 3 little ones, Kaya, Vivi, and Perona, almost stuck their heads out of the bubble, looking closely at the bubble with bright eyes. Because of the new voyage, Kaya also temporarily left Indigo's teachings and continued sailing with Xia Luo. Don't put your head too close to your wife. Although the bubble is still very strong, if you stick your head out, it will be soaked in the seawater. Xia Luo pulled the 3 little ones back a little one by one. Although Perona is older, mentally she is more like Kaya and Vivi. Feel sorry. Perona knocked her head and stuck out her tongue, looking very cute. After being on the ship for so long, Nami and Karina have taught her a lot about what a girl should look like. Kaya and Vivi also lowered their heads with flushed faces, obviously feeling a little wary of their rude appearance just now. But it's not their fault. After all, the Fishman Island is indeed very beautiful. The Fishman Island is composed of 1 large and 1 small bubble. There is a small bubble above, where the Dragon Palace city is located, and where the royal family is located. Below is the real the Fishman Island, where most of the fishmen live. Although it wasn't very clear from where Xia Luo and the others were, they could still see the outline. There are countless schools of fish swimming around the bubble, and from time to time, 1 or 2 large sea kings shuttle. It adds a touch of mystery to this beautiful island. It is indeed the Fishman Island, which is known as the undersea paradise. The scenery is really unheard of. It is great to be able to come here once. Karina's eyes were also shining and she said in a brisk tone. Karina, I remember we brought bubble coral, right? Xia Luo suddenly asked. Well, I have it with me. Do you want to use this 1,000? Karina turned around and responded in confusion. We are still some distance away from the deep sea. Don't you want to go out and have a look? Xia Luo said with a smile. That's right. Why didn't I think of that? Karina suddenly understood and immediately took out a bubble coral. Then a few bubbles were ejected in the sea, and then the bubble coral was thrown to Xia Luo, and he got out of the bubbles in the boat and got in. The other girls also got into the bubble next to them with their bright eyes shining. The current has not really reached the deep level, so the pressure is not very huge, and their body strength can completely bear it. Xia Luo is not afraid that they will burst the bubbles, because he is not afraid of seawater, can even breathe in the sea, and can go out for rescue at any time. Why don't you go out and play together? Xia Luo walked to Reiju and Robin and asked, with Monet and Khalifa beside them. These are all beauties who are relatively familiar with royal sisters. They are obviously a little different from the others and are more reserved. No need. You can come to the bottom of the sea, it's enough to appreciate the beautiful scenery here. Let's wait until we get to the Fishman Island. Robin said with a smile, and the other women had the same expression. It was enough for them to watch a few girls playing outside on the boat, and they would not participate. Don't be so unsocial. It's rare to come to the bottom of the sea, so of course it's better to experience it in person. Xia Luo didn't listen to their explanation, made several bubbles with bubble coral, and then jumped out with several girls. Reiju, Monet, and Karina each stay in a bubble, while Xia Luo shares a bubble with Robin. Xia Luo held Robin's little hand and pushed the bubbles to swim, feeling the flow of the seawater and the feeling of the deep sea. Robin also touched the surface of the bubble with his eyes shining brightly, then closed his eyes and carefully felt the feeling in the deep sea. They had a good time playing here for a while before entering the deep sea from the surface. It was not until the ship was about to leave the surface and enter the deep sea that we returned to the ship. But Xia Luo's eyes seemed to flash with a hint of evil amusement. He just popped the bubbles gently, and seawater poured in instantly, leaving Robin stunned. Caught off guard, she could only hold her breath to prevent the seawater from flowing into her mouth and nose, but the sense of powerlessness in her body prevented her from moving. Xia Luo hugged her waist, then stretched her head over to give Robin a breath of air. Robin reluctantly opened his eyes, looked at Xia Luo's face in front of him, silently wrote down this grudge, but still accepted the air from Xia Luo obediently. This lasted for a minute, and Xia Luo took her back to the Longyu. The girls on the boat looked at them with interest. Well done, our captain Xia Luo. He actually thought of taking advantage of Sister Robin in this way. Karina looked at the two people who were already soaked and said jokingly. Perona and Vivi covered their blushing cheeks with their hands, but their eyes could still be seen from between their fingers. Huh? What are you talking about? The bubble just now seemed not very strong and was popped by a small fish. I had no choice but to take this step to bring Robin back. Xia Luo said with an innocent face, as if there was Dia standing behind her, and she had no choice but to do this. Then why did it take so long? With your strength, you can get back to the ship in a second, right? But now it took a full minute. Between 11 Karina did not let him go, and still said it was not a big deal. It seems that something interesting can be discovered by offering fire. Hey, isn't it because Sister Robin's lips are too soft? She accidentally lost her concentration and forgot that she could swim quickly in the sea. Xia Luo scratched his head and looked harmless. Haha, I think this is the truth. Karina looked at him with a wicked smile. Robin also glared at Xia Luo, who was still hugging him, then reached out and pinched his waist hard. But because the skin was too thick, no damage was caused. Robin's revenge could only go so far, and Xia Luo could only laugh twice. Everyone knows Xia Luo's intentions, and no matter how hard she hides it, she can't hide it from the girls on the ship. Chapter 120. Arriving at the Fishman Island. The way to enter the Fishman Island is also very simple. After using the coating to sink into the sea, it can ride on the surface currents and enter the deep sea currents, and then it can be delivered to the Fishman Island 10,000 meters under the sea. This is not a vertical descent of the ship, but more like the strong wind causing the ship to float when traveling on the sea. But even so, this current still caused countless ships to be buried in the deep sea, becoming a ghost ship sunk at the bottom of the sea. A passing sea king or giant sea monster may sink the ship that comes here. But in the eyes of powerful people, sailing on the bottom of the sea is like being in their own back garden, without any threat at all. Xia Luo can also use lion fruit to control the seawater in the sea to create a sea current, leading to the Fishman Island. And now he is using this method to create a sea current that leads directly to the Fishman Island. The schools of fish or giant sea beasts encountered on the road were all frightened and fled away by the look of Xiao Yin swimming in the sea. With Xiao Yan's escort, the journey was smooth. Robin went back and changed his clothes and sat on the deck chatting. Xia Luo. Just by covering his body with the fire of sinful karma, all the moisture disappeared. I don't know what the legendary underwater paradise looks like. From the outside, it looks like it is made up of huge coral colonies. Michida stood on the mast and looked at the Fishman Island and said expectantly. I heard that there are many beautiful mermaid ladies there. With your hobby, Xia Luo, I guess a few mermaids will come here? Nami said jokingly with a smile on her face. Nami, you understand me. Xia Luo stretched out his hand to play with the hair on the chests of the two girls in his arms, while the two maids of God behind him kneaded his shoulders. Now in his arms are not Nami and Karina, who have always occupied him, but Vivi and Perona. The reactions of the two women just now were very interesting, so his bad taste came back again, and he hugged the two women at once and started to make love. Xia Luo, who just had her hands empty, began to play with the long hair hanging down on the chests of the two women. And Vivi and Perona looked like innocent girls who were violated by bullies, and they looked angry but dare not speak out, which aroused the desire to bully them even more. With the two divine maids behind him, Xia Luo looked even more like a bully. But you also reminded me that I will probably have to go to Dragon Palace City later. Xia Luo pinched Vivi, who was pregnant with her, causing 800 to let out a squeak, and all the girls rolled their eyes. Vivi's face was so red that she could drip with water, and her head was almost buried in her chest. It seems that it has fallen, and it will be time for Xia Luo to take action soon. Xia Luo looked at Vivi's performance and nodded with satisfaction. Dragon Palace City. Captain Xia Luo, your target won't be the man who claims to be beautiful. Lost to the world's most beautiful woman, the pirate empress, Princess Shirahoshi, who is praised for her beauty, right? Reiju seemed to have read through Xia Luo's thoughts and said in a brisk tone with a smile. As expected of one of the people who knows me best. Xia Luo gave Reiju a thumbs up, showed a big smile, and said. Who knows him best on the ship? Nami, Karina, and Reiju, plus half a Robin. The first two have been following her for a long time, the latter two have seen through all of Xia Luo because of their mature thinking, and Robin is just shy of going deep into this level, and it will be soon. The other girls were not surprised, they all knew that Xia Luo was an LSP. Even the celestial dragons have been captured, so it's not surprising that there is an extra mermaid princess. And Xia Luo never hides the fact that she is an LSP, so that the girls can accept it faster. And he only recruited female crew members, like Lu Qi, The three of them were placed on the island as bodyguards to protect Geisa and them. He was surrounded by beautiful women, and having a few more men together would be too much of an eyesore, so he didn't drag Golden Lion's old men onto the ship to serve as sailors. All were used as his subordinates. What a man with boundless desires. No matter how many people are on board, you can't be satisfied. Nami glanced at him angrily and said helplessly, "There is no way, who can make them unable to satisfy Xia Luo even if they go together." It's true that Xia Luo's physique is too strong. It's not like they haven't tried to fight together, but they were still killed indiscriminately. Ha 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 ha. Xia Luo laughed loudly, and hugged Vivi and Perone a little tighter. The two girls' faces became more rosy, and they lowered their heads and remained silent. Soon, the Longyu arrived at the interface to the island. Xia Luo controlled the ship and sailed into the port of the Fishman Island correctly. Passing through the entrance, Xia Luo saw the Fishman guards responsible for guarding the entrance and exit. I saw a Fishman guard taking out a phone with a horrified look on his face and then dialed. Obviously, the appearance of Xia Luo's giant sailboat has been fully exposed, and they have also recognized who it is. After all, Xia Luo has been so popular recently, and these maritime powers will certainly pay close attention to her. The arrival of Xia Luo is bound to cause a sensation in the Fishman Island. Even if the Fishman Island is backed by Whitebeard, the king here, Neptune, would not dare to neglect Xia Luo. The power of the new overlord of the sea is so terrifying. After Xia Luo finished anchoring, she stood on the land inside the island and drew a big slouch. The guards here didn't dare to stop Xia Luo and just let him go. They must have received some notification. But when I finally arrived at Xia Luo, I didn't know where to start. It seemed like I had to get a tourist map first. Finally arrived at the Fishman Island. Great. Nami's eyes were shining as she scanned the surroundings. It's like a dreamlike paradise. Robin couldn't help but admired. Ha 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 ha, you can have some fun here in the next few days. I'm really looking forward to the Fishman lady here. Xia Luo put her hands on her hips and laughed. Suddenly, as if he had discovered something, Xia Luo paused and turned his eyes in a certain direction. Nami also discovered Xia Luo's subtle movements. Her radio waves could sense the entire the Fishman Island, and the sensing was slightly strengthened in the direction of Xia Luo's gaze. Here comes a pretty good guy. Xia Luo raised a smile on her lips and said in a brisk tone. Is he the king here? Neptune, known as the Great Knight of the Sea? Nami's radio induction also came from a powerful aura, and she guessed in a doubtful tone. Well, no matter who it is, it won't affect us anyway. Nami, you go and take a good look around the Fishman Island first. I'll wait for this guy here. Then please pay attention to your safety, we will leave first. After hearing this, Nami also waved his hands and walked in a certain direction with the other girls. They don't have any goals, but it's always a good idea to go shopping first. There is nothing on the Fishman Island that can threaten them. In Nami's perception, except for a certain little Karami who is quite capable in a certain direction, the others are not worth mentioning. The most powerful one is the mysterious man heading this way. Don't you know my strength yet? Don't worry, Xiao Yin, you should follow Nami and the others first. If there are any people with evil intentions, don't worry, just kill them directly. Xia Luo said confidently first, and then gave instructions to Tian Weilong, who had shrunk in size. Chirp. Xiao Yin chirped in response and flew to the side of the girls. With her cute big eyes shining, Perona hugged little Silver in the air, and then began to stroke her gently. Xia Luo waved to them and watched their backs gradually go away. He was sitting on a rock. Below him was a sea area inhabited by countless fishmen and mermaids. The Fishman Island was the lower level. Xia Luo's eyes also saw the mermaid girl swimming in the water. Is this still a mermaid? It's really cute. I wonder what it feels like. I want to recruit some mermaid ladies more and more. CEBF. Xia Luo rubbed her chin and admired the beautiful scenery below. Your Excellency Golden Lion too, Xia Luo, I have long admired you. Just as Xia Luo was admiring the beautiful scenery, a heavy and powerful voice came from behind him. I saw a man 3 meters tall, with a fat body, 2 big teeth in his lower jaw, eyebrows and sideburns like the wind, wearing a red yukata with embroidered patterns and geta, Indian sun pirate's sun symbol on his chest. The whale shark man stood not far behind him. Although Xia Luo did not look back, he already knew who the visitor was. He is one of the 7 warlords of the sea. Before the bounty order was suspended, the bounty was as high as 250 million belly. Sea hero, Jinbei. Hey, I've been waiting for you for a while. I don't know why you came to me. Kai Sha Jinbei. Xia Luo turned around and waved her hand to say hello to him, as if she were reunited with an old friend she hadn't seen for a long time. Well, don't be too nervous. I'm not here to cause trouble, I just want to see the legendary underwater paradise. Looking at Jinbei with a serious face and alert eyes, Xia Luo smiled. He said in a calm tone, he still admires Jinbei very much. Jinbei is a chivalrous and courageous person. He can face the soul spell of his aunt without any fear. Although he is a gangster from Fishman Street, he is the successor of Fisher Tiger's will, and he is a very good guy. I'm rude, Your Excellency Xia Luo. Upon hearing this, Jinbei bowed his head slightly and apologized to him, but his eyes were still slightly wary. You won't let off your guard just because of a few words from Xia Luo. After all, this is his hometown. If Xia Luo wants to do something that harms the Fishman Island, he will go to put it right no matter what. It doesn't matter. Xia Luo waved his hand and didn't care. He also understands why Jinbei is wary. After all, the two of them are not familiar with each other, which is normal, and he will not be angry because of it. He still talks about the truth that needs to be said, and will not go to the point of making trouble unreasonably. That would be too embarrassing. Xia Luo couldn't afford to lose this person. Your Excellency Xia Luo, our King Neptune learned of your arrival and specially asked me to come over and invite you to attend the banquet in Dragon Palace City. I wonder if your Excellency Xia Luo is willing to go to the banquet with me? Seeing that Xia Luo was very casual, Jinbei was slightly relieved, and then said to Xia Luo with a serious and very polite expression. Thank you very much for your hospitality, King Neptune, but we have just arrived at this island and we plan to visit the Fishman Island. Xia Luo scratched his head and said with some distress. I see, then let me introduce the Fishman Island to your Excellency Xia Luo. Dragon Palace City still needs a little time to prepare the dinner, but now you have enough time to visit the Fishman Island. By the way, did Mr. Xia Luo come to the Fishman Island alone? Didn't he come with his companions? Hearing that Xia Luo wanted to visit the Fishman Island, Jinbei immediately volunteered to be a tour guide. Then I turned my head and looked around again. There was no breath of the ships on the beach. There was no one around, so he asked doubtfully. Ah, well, they took the first step and I'm waiting for you here. I guess you're playing somewhere now. Xia Luo let go of her perception of sight, hearing, color, and found that Nami and the others had not gone far and stopped at a place. I see, I asked Mr. Xia Luo to wait for me here, it's really. I am so sorry. Jinbei was also stunned for a moment, and then bowed his head to Xia Luo and apologized. I can only say that it is worthy of being called straight Jinbei, and all aspects of etiquette are in place. Ha 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 ha, don't be so serious, let's go, Jinbei. Xia Luo patted his shoulder and said casually, then walked in the direction of Nami and the others. Seeing this, Jinbei also lowered his guard and followed Xia Luo's footsteps. Since Xia Luo behaves so casually, how can he treat others sincerely if he still maintains this vigilant state? Hey, Jinbei, do you know Arlong? While walking on the road, Xia Luo's sudden question made Jinbei stop. I know. Jinbei looked complicated, and his mood suddenly changed dramatically. What Arlong did and what happened to him is entirely his own fault. Please don't take your anger out on his family in the Fishman Island because of this matter, Mr. Xia Luo. Suddenly, Jinbei gave Xia Luo a big bow and said with a troubled expression. This incident can be said to be Arlong's fault and his lax discipline, but he didn't want this incident to lead to the destruction of the Fishman Island. But he was at fault in this matter, and now he can only pray for Xia Luo's forgiveness. Jinbei did not do this because he was afraid of Xia Luo, it was entirely because he had been tortured in his heart. From Arlong's report, he felt very uncomfortable seeing the people he had exiled running amok in East Blue. If he had known that Arlong had done such a thing in East Blue, he would definitely have done it himself. It seems that you also know about this. The person you apologize to is wrong. It's not that Arlong owes me anything, but that my 2 crew members have been tortured by Arlong. Jinbei's sudden gift made Xia Luo slightly stunned, but then he said calmly. It was Arlong's group who committed mischief in East Blue. Jinbei was completely unaware of it at that time, and the criminals had already been killed by him, so he didn't care much about it. But the key is Nami and Nuo Kagao. I wonder if they will react to this. At the same time, he also knew that Nami and Naki's character would never take this matter out on Jinbei and the Fishman Island. Because they are all kind-hearted and know what it feels like to be bullied by others, they cannot magnify the pain they have suffered on the entire the Fishman Island.